Meet Zack Drakkar. He was born into the Drakkar household, a family of legendary dragon slayers. But before Zack could show off his family title, his family deemed him unfit. They wanted a swordsman, but Zack turned out to be a curse healer, a boy nobody cared about. In search of power, Zack roamed the continents and finally reached an ancient relic, a treasure that even the Emperor desired. But in the end, the soldiers sent by the Emperor captured him. His injuries were so serious that even his healing magic didn't work. But fate had other plans. That ancient relic triggered an upgrade system that took him back to a younger age. With this new ancient power, his real journey began at the Cradle, the Drakkar household's training institution. Before diving into Zack's story, it's important to understand his family's background. The Drakkar family established the foundation of the three great Transcendentals' fame. Perhaps due to their lineage, every descendant of the Drakkar bloodline has received Ra's blessing, which allows them to easily unlock high-level Ra, and can become as powerful as the Knights. But everything was fine until Zack came. Unlike his ancestors, he was born without the ability to use Ra, a deficiency that made him useless in his own family. After regressing, Zack is relaxing on his bed, completely carefree. Then the system window shocks him. He immediately goes on high alert and starts listening carefully. But after scanning the room and finding no one, he thinks, maybe she just imagined it. But then more system windows open. One of these system windows gives the most interesting detail. It announces that Jake's soul has received the Elder Dragon's will, and that it has become completely part of his soul. Soon, Jack also gets authority over a part of the system. As soon as the activation is complete, his eyesight is filled with system windows. The first window shows his overall stats, his class skills, and a unique skill category called Draconian Skill. This skill will only unlock when he collects 10 points, but currently his karma points are 0. Curious, he starts playing with the system, and soon he understands how to use it. The most important thing shown in the administration status window is his class skill. The reason for his curiosity is this: that class skills is a word from the Draconic language, which is not used in this era. He had heard about it from his master. According to his master, the people of the ancient world were classified according to their strengths. Each class had specialized techniques that were called skills. Zook's class is healer, therefore his skill is healing. After Jack awakened, his master, who was a woman, gave him such rigorous training that he reached the door of death. Her training methods were unique, and he still remembers that unbearable pain that she inflicted on him so he could heal. In any case, Jack decides that he verify whether she truly is a healer, like the system is saying. When he activates his powers, then he realizes that he really is a healer. He is shocked because in his past life he became a healer at 20, then his Ether Hall unlocked because he couldn't use his healing ability without the Ether Hall, which means that his Ether Hall is already unlocked, and this is good news. Not only has he come back to the past with all his memories, but his skills have also come with him, and this puts him in an even more advantageous position. He decides that he will explore the system further so he can know what other surprises there are. Someone called his name and knocked on the door. Immediately he tries to push the system windows to the side so that no one can see, but the impatient visitor enters the room without waiting for a response. The boy who came inside, he is Jake's exclusive servant, Decker. He has come to check on this, whether his young master is ready for the upcoming event. Absolutely, Jack has no idea what he needs to be prepared for. The young master forgetting this special day is making the butler even angrier. On the other hand, Jack remembers that even in his past life, he was always afraid of Decker, even though his mind is that of a 32-year-old. But his subconscious can't remove the fear filled in this body. Then a class skill activates. Composed Mind immediately makes Cax trembling and the fear on his face completely disappear. Composed Mind is such a skill that keeps the user's mental state calm and composed in every situation. No matter what the situation, Cax finds this quite easy, because it can activate on its own. Meanwhile, Butler is repeating himself. He's trying to remind his young master of the importance of the upcoming event. But Zack immediately resists. After Butler insists a lot, Zack finally starts paying attention and admits that he remembers. He remembers clearly. That evaluation test is known as pancreation. What happened? Some context is needed to understand pancreation. Everyone goes through a training system, which is called the Cradle. This training starts from the age of 7 and lasts for 5 years. Every year, instructors evaluate each incoming student. Swordsmanship and combat are specifically pancreation, a no-holds-barred combat, in which there are no rules. Opponents are typically chosen by the instructors, but sometimes students can choose their own adversaries. If both parties agree, because there are no rules, injuries are common. And sometimes students don't even survive, but because this competition decides which class the students will be placed in at the academy, the children have to fight with their full strength. The day of punctuation finally arrives, and the students gather in the amphitheater. The instructor stands in the middle of everyone and reminds everyone, today is the day of punctuation, or it is the final part of their evaluation. All the students listen attentively to the instructor, and their enthusiasm makes something happening impactful. In the crowd, students notice Jack standing among them. Some students start laughing. Jack is here again. After his humiliation last year, a duel begins between two students, and one student ends the duel before it even starts. He knocks out his opponent with an uppercut. But while the other students are fascinated by this quick fight, he is not impressed. He remembers that when he was little, he was afraid of fights like this, but compared to what he faced in his past life, this is nothing. Zack waits for his turn. Another student, Leon Conrad, is waiting so that he can duel with Zack. Finally, Zack's turn comes, and his opponent is none other than Leon. When Zack is rubbing his tired eyes, Leon reminds Zack of last year's humiliation. Jake definitely hasn't forgotten him. He clearly remembers it. He remembers how he apologized to Leon. Those memories are painful, but now that's in the past. Leon has always been Jake's opponent, and Jake knows him well, how he is a dirty player, and what kind of worthless family he comes from. Even a biting dog is better than Leon for Jake. In his past life, Jake never met his four-step siblings, but he had many cousins, and many of them were ready to bully him. Suddenly, Leon tries to remind Jake of how he ruined him last year. He asks Jake if so much humiliation wasn't enough for him to not participate in the competition. Leon says a lot of things to him, but Jake stays cool like king, and it's all because of his composed mind ability. Whether it's Jake's job, but even his patience has a limit. He can't stand anyone talking nonsense about him. Jake's response further triggers this. And this time Leon tries to grab Jake's head, but the result of his foolish move is just one solid punch, which sends him flying far away. This brutal punch was possible because of Jack's critical strike skill. This ability inflicts significant damage to the opponent, and if the attack fails, there is a risk of a counter. Fortunately, Jack's punch landed perfectly and left no chance for a counterattack. On the other hand, he is writhing in pain, clutching his face. Jack said that his aim was only to knock him out, but the ability activated, and the instructor immediately comes to take care of the injured brat. And Zack for attacking before the match even started, but Zack thinks that when they are already standing in the arena, why wait for someone's command? The one who strikes first gets the advantage. So he didn't let this opportunity pass, while saying this his killer intent is so high, even the instructor starts trembling. Meanwhile, Leon assures the instructor that everything is fair, and asks to start the battle. If he backs down at this moment, it will be too embarrassing for him. Another punch, which lands directly on his face. It's about the queen, that this punch doesn't hurt at all. Leon was scared remembering the pain of the first punch, but when he realized that this punch wasn't hurting at all, his foolish confidence increased even more. He thinks that if he stays in a defensive position, Jack will not be a threat to him. Leon immediately notices that Jack is counter-attacking with his left hand. Therefore, he bends down. In this critical moment, he takes advantage of Jake's vulnerability, and he tries to grab him and push him to the ground, but suddenly Leon gets hit so fast that we didn't even see what happened. He starts shaking like a leaf. The instructor is completely boggled too. He can't comprehend that he just saw a 12-year-old kid pull off that slick move. When Leon dodged Zack's counter and tried to push him down, the instructor was sure Leon would win, but Zack punched Leon in the chin and escaped his grip. It's Leon's fault that he lowered his guard, or thinking he had Zack pinned. But Zack remains cool as a cucumber. The exactness and effective damage that requires concentration and precision is a feat. The instructor is thinking, is that really the same Zack Drecker? The bratty he knew on the other side was completely shattered after that brutal punch. His mind is scrambled, and before he can react, he gets another blow, which trips him up, but he quickly steadies himself, and he retaliates with his punch. At this critical moment, another of Jug's class skills automatically activates. Heightened sense, this skill temporarily increases his perception. With the help of this skill, Jug can see the punch in slow motion at 960 frames per second, which makes it easier for him to dodge. After the punch passes, Jug grabs Lion's arm, and it throws him to the ground. The attack is so powerful that the ground underneath also breaks. Another skill activates. Prezo is Step, which helps Jack target Leon's weak points, so that critical damage can occur. After pinning Leon to the ground, Jack gets ready to punch. Poor Leon begs him to stop, but Jake punches anyway. which lands directly on his face. This ruthlessness surprises the instructor as well as the onlookers. The final hit looks very satisfying, and after this short battle, Jake feels a sense of relief. She is that after this show, her other cousins will also think twice before bothering her, but if they dare to do anything, Jake will silence them forever. But it seems that all this was not enough to instill fear in these bastards. A foolish Jaken challenges Jake, and he chooses him as his puncture opponent. Kak doesn't care. He thinks that if Jaken comes alone, he will be bored, so he suggests to Jaken that he bring some more students along so things get more interesting. Jake calls another student, Liam Stone, and suggests that he come with Jake. Obviously, Liam is just Jake's yes man. This suggestion is like a slap in the face for Jake. The idea that he needs someone's help to fight a weakling like Zeke. He can't stand it, but Jake keeps pushing his buttons, which further infuriates this trash. Jake is now waiting to dog GK when both contestants stand in the arena. The instructor wants to win this bar, not to move before the command, but it seems Jake has brought his servant with him, which makes Jake even happier. After all, in Jake's past life, Liam had a reputation as an exceptional fighter and had also achieved the title of Mercenary King. Being Jakey's servant, Liam had joined Cradle Academy, but being a distant relative, his education was neglected. He tried his best to get admission to the Academy for higher education, but eventually laid the foundation of stone mercenaries in a small nation, Barampur. He united the 3 largest mercenary groups and achieved the title of Mercenary King. When the Empire hired the stone mercenaries, Liam joined the Continental Wars, where Jake and Nurse faced him as a powerful enemy. But this time, Jake has decided to create a completely different future for himself. When the instructor gives the signal, Jake confidently moves forward and throws a punch that disturbs the air currents. But Jaken catches and blocks that punch without even looking. As if nothing happened, Jaken immediately throws Jake's hand away and confronts it with his kick, but this kick backfires on him. When his kick connects, he feels a lot of pain. It becomes clear that he has hit Jake's strong barrier, which had formed around his elbow, and this has caused a lot of damage to Jake's leg. When Jake sees his injured leg, Kak immediately moves forward, and he activates his skill and gets ready to throw a punch. Poor Jaken tries to protect his face, but Jack's intention wasn't to punch his face. Jack punches him in the ribs, which forces Jaken to cough up a lot of ketchup of blood. This overconfident guy finally falls to the ground. Having lost his pride and bravery, he angrily orders his sidekick to kill Jack. Now Jack is facing Liam, and it's giving off serious killing vibes. Liam's long reach is a serious disadvantage for Jack, so Jack decides to attack first. He gets ready and delivers some punches using the slash skill. Moves so fast that only his shadows are visible, which are throwing punches one after another. This skill completely ruins the enemy's vision. Those who are standing nearby are watching. He is feeling real fear. He is shocked to see Jack's performance. That he is curious and confused, because he has never seen anything like this before. A society where everyone fights with swords. Seeing a fighter's fist fighting technique is a rare thing. No matter how amazing this ability is, it puts a lot of strain on Jaked's body as well. But the biggest challenge is Liam's monster physique. He's not doing any counter-attacks or dodges, but just enduring everything with his guard, Jake. That he is not able to do the right damage, so he prepares for a final powerful strike. That would be enough to break Liam's guard, but then Zack strikes. Liam effortlessly changes the direction of that attack and dodges it. Zack gets even angry, because Liam didn't even blink. As if nothing had happened, the next moment Liam seizes the opportunity and prepares to lift Zack into the air and slam him to the ground. But Zack doesn't let that happen. He immediately strikes Liam on the head. His class skills height and senses activate, and using this advantage he locks Liam in a deadly neck hold, which cuts off Liam's oxygen supply. No matter how strong Liam's body is, without oxygen his brain becomes powerless. But it seems that Jack has overestimated himself. Liam doesn't give up and faces it, and he lands powerful blows one after another. Due to the successive punches, Jack is forced to a blood choke. But eventually Liam's body starts to give out. His strength diminishes, and he loses consciousness due to lack of oxygen. People are watching the battle. The wilds remain, but among them is one particular student, who instead of being worried is feeling excited and can't wait to fight Zack. Zack returns to his quarters after the day's puncturing is over, where his servant asks about his well-being. He has heard. Zack says that he got very injured in the matches, that he is perfectly fine, but Butler insists that he should check his pulse to verify that everything is alright. Zack understands that the old man just wants to see. Has she awakened her Arvek? Finally, Jake extends his hand towards the servant, who immediately sends blue energy from his hand into Jake. Seeing this blue energy, Jake pauses and thinks, is his servant really a blue knight? This is because when someone's aura is checked, so people usually check the danchin. It's difficult in itself to put Rai into someone else's body, but this old man's such precise control indicates that he is a blue knight. All knights are not the same. They are classified according to their martial prowess, connection, and aura manipulation proficiency. White Stesman is the novice level, and before the blessing, all children are White Stesman. Yellow Stesman is the level that you achieve when your aura awakens and your danchin opens. All trainees of Cradle become Yellow Swordsman after blessing, when you learn to freely control Rai. Then you achieve the title of Knight. Purple Knight level is when you can reinforce your sword with Rai, while Blue Knight level is when you can make your own Ra blade. Beyond this, those people have exceeded their limits. They are called Red Knights. Like Mercenary King Liam and Zack achieved before their regression. Then there is the Black Knight. But there are only a few such monsters in the entire continent. Despite all this, Zack thinks that his servant is qualified to become a clear commander. How he became his babysitter, but Jake is completely sure that this man cannot detect his ether, which only 2 people in the world can use. Finally, the old man finishes his examination, and in a firm tone he asks his young master if he is hiding something. Jack remains cool and acts like it, as if he knows nothing, and asks Butler, "Do you know anything?" Butler reports that the training room Jack requested is already prepared. Pleased with this, Jack sends the old man to rest. When Jake walks alone, that perhaps Butler has been sent to keep an eye on him. To avoid this, he decides to keep Butler close so he can manipulate the old man and extract the necessary information. Jake still needs to figure out who ordered Butler to keep an eye on him. That no one from his mother's side will do this, so this work can only be done by his siblings. When Jack enters the personal training room, he is stunned to see the luxury there. This further enhances the prestige of the house. Before starting the training, he decides to check the system. The system panel appears in front of him, and he sees that his /skill proficiency has reached level 10. He doesn't understand how this happened, but he guesses that perhaps skills level up by using them repeatedly. The /skill naturally activates. Based on his actions, he doesn't need to do anything specific. He understands that if he learns something new, it can also be added here as a skill. He is still confused about the difference between a skill and a class skill, but he observes that both are activated in the same way. Finally, there's a draconian skill, but it cannot be used yet because it requires 10 points to unlock. He presses that option, and the next system window tells him that he can earn karma points by killing monsters, which he currently has 0 of. Speaking of monsters, Zack thinks that there are many monsters in dungeons, but to reach them, he'll have to level up to at least Purple Knight. For now, he doesn't understand how he came back to the past and what this system is. And also, what is the difference between skills and class skills? His sixth sense says that maybe it's all connected to that ancient relic, but he's not sure because he doesn't have enough information. To put everything together, whatever happens, he raises his sword and makes a decision that he will use his full strength to become even stronger. Whether it is the system or Drikkar line, 2 powers are known in this world. One is Knight's aura and the other is Mage's mana. Knights reinforce their aura in the danchin, while the mages refine their mana through circles. These 2 powers are different, meaning if someone has awakened one power, they cannot awaken the other. But Zack was unlucky. He awakened neither the danchin nor the circle, which is why people considered Zack useless and forced him to wander until he met his master. During his vagabond days, his master taught him a lot, but the most valuable lesson was the art of healing in Ether Hall. Ether Hall is a unique technique, which his master had developed. Using this technique, Zack learned to harness the energy of nature, Ether. To date, he and his master are the only 2 Ether users in this world. After only 2 hours of training, Zack feels that he is about to faint, but his class skill Healing activates. And along with that, another class skill, Vigor Recovery, also activates. Healing is a very rare skill, which Jack didn't know about before meeting his master. If anyone saw him using this skill, they would label him an irregular. That's why he didn't use this skill while fighting Liam and only healed himself after returning to the room when his body was fully recovered. Then he continues practicing that he can't waste even a moment. By morning, Kak feels completely exhausted. The whole hall is proof of his hard work after training all night without stopping, where deep marks of flowing and soda are on the floor. Sometime later, a week passes, and we find ourselves in the Cradle cafeteria. There, Zack overhears some students talking about themselves. They are thinking that he has become a completely different person because he is a born loser. They think That maybe Kak has dabbled in black magic. On the other side, all the big shot students are having dinner in a private lounge. First is Reina, who is eating stick. Then Owen will eat gymnasium because he will need the energy for the swordsmanship duel, but Leon gets irritated for no reason and slams his hand on the table so hard that his juicy steak falls on the ground. Because of this table slam, Rena's steak also flies off her plate and falls, which makes her absolutely furious. Rena's anger finally cools Leon down a bit. These 4 students hate Jack, so it's someone. It's not about the queen, that they are together. But even if they are in the same group, they don't have that good of a rapport. Hatred for Jack is bringing them together. Owen believes that Jack was very brave and impressive in Pancration, but he is sure that Jack will lose in swordsmanship as far as he knows. Jack doesn't even know how to properly hold a sword, so he poses no threat to anyone. One of the students also says this, that Jack is so weak that he had to get a sword made on request because regular swords were too heavy for him, yet it is difficult for Leon to understand how he lost to that drain worm. It seems that Jack only wins in Pancration because of luck, but it seems that Reina does not agree with them. If they really believe this nonsense, then none of them deserve to be a knight of the Drecker household. Saying this, she walks out of the room. It is important to know and understand a few things before the day of the duel. Unlike Pancration, sword duels use real swords, which causes the most incidents in the cradle. This is the place where the difference in cadets' skills becomes very clear. The Blessing Ride will begin a month after the final exams, the event where Drakers awaken their Rai. The day of the duel has finally arrived, and the instructor orders Jack to come. Our hero comes to a completely relaxed state, carrying a giant sword on his shoulder. This sword is even bigger than him. Everyone laughs seeing this. They think that Jack seems to think that big sword unity is better, and it will benefit him. Reina comes from the other side, who looks absolutely furious and challenges Jack. Our hero is absolutely ready to accept this challenge, and he says yes without any delay. Reina absolutely doesn't like that Zack is picking up a claymore so easily. Now that she's seeing him face to face, she's realized that this isn't the same Zack. The Zack she knew, who couldn't even hold a sword properly, now his presence is so profound that Reina starts to feel nervous, but she quickly composes herself. She gets angry at herself. How could she even think of being afraid of Jack? There is no option of backing down now, especially when Reina herself has made the challenge. On the other hand, Jack is also feeling nervous that his usual techniques won't work in this duel because fighting Lightning Knight Rena Terran is no joke. It's inviting death. Rena Terran, who was known as Lightning Knight in Geek's past life, made her name in the Continental Wars and came to be recognized as one of the greatest of the next generation of Drakers. She is one of the few rare people who awakened their Rai even before the Blessing Rite. Zik remembers that Reina awakened her Rai a few years ago, but she didn't use it in the cradle because she was focused on improving her fundamentals. As soon as the signal to begin the duel is given, both contestants clash their swords. After the initial clash, Reina retreats and then attacks again. With one strike, she pushes Jack back. Jack understands this with just these 2 strikes. That Reina is even better than he expected. Reina attacks him again, swinging her sword as fast as she can, and illuminates the area with sparks. Her friends are worried in the background. They are telling her to finish Jake in 1 strike, but one of them, a wiser student, reminds these idiots that Reina isn't playing with Jake, it's Jake, which is pushing her back. From Reina's perspective, she can clearly see the mistakes in Zack's attack, but every time she tries to take advantage of them and attack, her sword is blocked by Zack's sword, as if he is deliberately showing her these mistakes and playing with her. And what is even more infuriating is that when he blocks an attack, so he intentionally leaves another mistake. It seems like it's so Reina will strike him, that it's not to win the duel, but to teach Reina a lesson. After some attacks, Reina finally retreats. Completely exhausted, she wants some time to catch her breath, but Jack doesn't have a single drop of sweat or fatigue on his face. In fact, he looks bored. He doesn't seem that impressed with Reina's performance. Reina is fighting completely honestly, without using any aura, but this is someone, it's not Rennie, because she considers everyone her weaklings. Now they are fighting. Jacksa. That he will help her and get her out of this competition, he deliberately takes a low stance, as if he is about to close the gap in 1 move. Reina is confident in her speed, and doesn't pay much attention to it, but in a moment, Jack closes the gap, and he comes in front of her. He doesn't even give Reno a chance to react. He swings his sword so hard that the force of his giant blade cracks the ground. On the other hand, Reno is sure that as long as there is distance between them, she can react to his moves. Jack swings his sword in the air, But his intention wasn't to hit her, rather the force of his swing causes flying stones to hit Reina in the face, which injures her nose. In the very next moment, Jack attacks her with his heavy sword. When Reina sees that shiny blade is only a few centimeters away from her neck, that's what he thinks. That his game is over, but it is. It's about the queen. That Jack's sword suddenly flies into the air and falls a few feet away. Along with this, the crowd declares Jack a loser and congratulates Reina for winning without Ra. But the instructor knows that this is not true. He becomes so flustered, as if he has found out that he has more than one father. The cadets hadn't noticed that when Jack's attack came close to Reina, he used very little aura, so little that was barely noticeable that Jack had forced her to use her Ra, even though she had promised not to use Ra until entering the academy, a completely shocking thing, when Reina is standing right there. Disappointment is clearly visible on her face. She regrets breaking her promise. Just then, Zeke makes a fist and attacks her, and strikes her neck. It's not over yet. Reina falls to her knees, and ketchup starts flowing from her mouth. One of the cowardly friends sitting in the cafeteria gets absolutely furious seeing this. Because it was a sword duel and they cannot tolerate this cheap attack by Jack, everyone points fingers at Jack. They are shaming him, calling him shameless. But Jack isn't worried at all. He asks calmly Reina if she wants to continue. Reina, on the other hand, agrees that she hasn't lost yet, thinks. Jake only struck because he wasn't focused on the fight, but when she thinks about it, then she realizes that if Jake had a knife in his hand, she would have been dead by now, which is why she honestly gives up. When the crowd, which was mocking Jake until recently, sees this, they go into shock. Jake Draker, who until a few days ago was labeled Humans Come, is now one of the most talented children of the famous houses. The fact that Ranatoon, the Lightning Knight, lost is absolutely unbelievable to everyone. The scene now shifts to Abel's castle, where a deadly battle has ended, and a camp of blood has been left behind. William sees this horrific scene, and can't understand how Abel is peacefully drinking tea. Abe's attention is now on a letter, free from any tension, which mentions Zach Drecker's Rena the Prodigy. He gets up and asks, how much time is left in Blessing, right? Because there's a lot of time until the full moon. Abe thinks so. William is shocked to hear that visiting the Draker family would be the right thing to do, that he is going himself. But this sod master is curious to know about Zach's awakening, when Zach's victory has made everyone else in the cradle run. When Zach's victory had stunned everyone else in the cradle, Zach didn't pay much attention to his achievement and simply went back to his training, refusing to celebrate the victory. A month passed and finally the day of Blessing right arrived. Zach still can't understand how he became a Red Knight in his original life, especially when he had such a bad body. After finishing training, he gives the command to open the status window. His mastery skill is at the expert level, just as he had thought. Because his mastery skill is at the expert level, he can learn any skill quickly. That's why he has many skills at rank D and E. He has also improved the mastery of his swift step skill. The same skill he used against Reina, he knows, because of his sharp senses, that Butler is watching him. Decker tells his master that they are leaving for the event in 2 hours, thinks that it's time to get ready now. Jack hasn't visited Main State in a long time. He is now going towards Draker F's house, which is on the other side of Troy, while the family's main residence is in the center of the continent. Blessing is right there. Reaching his destination where the legend of Dragoness Lair began, Zick gets out of the carriage and enters the Dragoness Nest Lair. As soon as he goes inside, Zick sees everyone here is a Veal, whom the entire continent knows. That some people have been sent here just to observe him. Even after knowing all this, Kak thinks that everything will be fine, but then he sees a man. Seeing him makes his blood boil. That man is none other than Abel, who is shaking hands with someone and saying that he had no interest in coming to this event. He only came for one person, and that person is his youngest brother. Is this man the second son of the Abel Drecker family, who has been nicknamed the Lion Blade? But he has another famous name, the Butchering Knight. Jack remains alert when facing his elder brother, because he doesn't have many options in this situation. In his previous life, the second son had never observed Jack in the Blessing Rite, which means Zach's actions have changed the future. Zach thinks, clenching his fist in anger. He won't waste his second life. The Blessing Rite starts soon. Aaron is asked to come forward as the first warrior. He puts his hand into a mystical pool, which fills his hand with blue essence. This is explained that every member of the Draker bloodline awakens their Eld Ra in every Blessing Rite ritual, especially when they are about to graduate from the cradle. This happens at the age of 12, and Aaron has now become the first example of this, where ordinary knights awaken Ra after the age of 20. This process starts for the Draker family at the age of 12. In some people, when they awaken Ra, they can also awaken a special skill of Dragon Slayer with Ra, which is called mana inhibition. The interesting thing is that mana lamps are reacting harshly, and red sparks are coming out. People who acquire mana inhibition, they can become as strong as red and black knights. It's called pure blood awakening. Due to the mana inhibition trait, candidates have to wear special gloves made by the family. Otherwise, they cannot enjoy a regular life like Rana, who has already gone through the awakening process. She wears these special gloves. When someone proves to be a pure blood, then they are given the name Draker, and they are given money support and many benefits. People don't start murmuring when he finally comes to the candidate stage, which everyone was waiting for. Everyone thinks that this child's awakening will be even better than Ning Rina's when standing in front of the G statue. That how he has already done all of this once in his past life. The last time's experience was painful for him, but Blessing Right was the one who helped him move forward in the cradle. That was the day he had to be embarrassed in front of everyone. But now things have changed. He has the ability to heal, can manipulate other, and above all, he has become strong through his abilities. Therefore, he is expecting a lot from the bronze statue. When he puts his hand in the pool, then the statue reacts. It begins to move, and then suddenly it stops, which shocks everyone. This is something like that. Seeing this, even Abel is shocked, as this has never happened to any candidate before. When Jack takes his hand out, then he thinks that he expected too much this time as well. Nothing different happened. He drew conclusions in haste and became overconfident because of Abel. The others are just shocked by this. That the candidate everyone was waiting to awaken hasn't awakened. They make fun of him. That despite being a direct descendant, he couldn't awaken. Then a question is raised. That how he defeated Reina. Now everyone thinks that perhaps he used some dirty trick, but our hero doesn't care about anyone. He is focusing on becoming stronger. Says hello with an apology after experiencing a system error. Zack seems confused when the system tells him that his class identification is missing necessary information. This part of the message catches his attention. The system tells him the input is complete, and the terminal is unable to identify the user's talent as a healer when the statue starts glowing with a red light. No one can believe that the indication of a pure blood's awakening is starting directly as a red knight. The system connects and unlocks the blessing of an ancient dragon in Jake's soul. At this time, Abel is silently looking at his brother. All of Jake's awakened talents combine to create a new class. It's difficult for the immortal Jack to understand all of this, especially when he sees this new unique class. The glow of the gold light surrounding his body attracts people's attention. They are noisy. They were sure that they saw a red light from the statue, but now doubts are arising in them. She has understood the trick, thinks that it is useless to speak in front of them right now. They raise questions. Whether the statue is broken. But then why is the mana lamp still reacting? They don't want to believe that this is a pure blood awakening. Just then Abel starts clapping. He says, mocking the people, that he failed to congratulate the new pure bloods. He thinks that this is an opportunity to celebrate. There's no need to doubt, because people can't speak in front of Abel, so they also start clapping. Abel orders gloves to be prepared for Jack. Jack takes the gloves, but he doesn't like these gloves. He leaves from there. While Abel thinks, our hero is getting angry. That he got Abel's help, the blessing right ends. And now there is a celebration party, in which everyone can enjoy. But Zack is on his Sigma male mindset. He has no intention of going to the party but stops abruptly when a voice calls out his name. He hadn't thought Abel would suddenly show up. Abel wants to know where this child is going and congratulates him with a firm handshake. Perhaps Jack hates his older brother, but refusing to shake his hand could create problems for him. Therefore, he extends his hand to look good. But then he remembers a bad memory from his previous life. For some reason, Jack withdraws his hand and refuses to say another word. Abel hints at his evil nature and blames his younger brother for this awkward situation. Zack thinks he cannot shake hands with a man he considers most vile. Abel doesn't care much. He says goodbye to him and leaves. He also confirms that they will meet again, that he will definitely meet his brother one day. Several people at the party are talking about the recent awakening of two pure bloods. No one has understood this yet, what Zack's golden light means. Because it has never happened before, they are thinking, where's Jack? Because he is nowhere to be seen, we can't see Jack, but he is relaxing in a separate room. He still doesn't understand what happened after this strange event. If we talk about pure blood awakenings, they have a skill called mana inhibition, which tells you, it seems that the Dracar family is against the dragons. who are considered to be the source of mana, but most soldiers need mana, and purebloods have to wear special gloves if Jack is a pureblood awakener. Then he should have had problems as soon as he took off the gloves, but he is fine even after taking off the gloves. Seeing this, he opens the status window, which is different from before. Suppose instead of Inhibin, he has a unique skill. Suppose Reflection Curious starts reading the details of this skill. That reflection creates a distortion field, that which cancels the nearby mana. This is a skill. That which does not react to mana lamps because it is not passive. Before the Blessing Rite, he was a rare class healer, but now he is considered a unique immortal. That which he is unable to understand, the confusion increases. When all the graduates in the ceremony receive a blue aura, which are usually awakenings. Only Rina was the exception who got a red pureblood awakening. The same happened with our hero, but eventually his awakening turned gold. The system told him that important information for classification was missing. That whether the bronze statue was measuring his skills at the time of awakening. When the system gave the statue the necessary information, the statue reacted strongly and emitted a red light. Now everything makes sense. That the statue's job is not to judge that someone has awakened or not, but its job is to measure the power of their class. Red light means rare class and gold light means unique class, and this statue is a relic. Who has been here before time? These days there is no concept of class identification. Therefore, the statue has only one purpose: to separate the awake people from those who have not awakened. People have misunderstood the meaning of the red light. They think that this is a pure blood awakening, whereas in reality it explains someone has received a rare class. The most interesting thing is this, that even the head of the clan family is still unaware of this. Watches, he has already acquired 100 karma points. He thinks that perhaps he received these points during the points ceremony, and he decides to use them to buy a draconian skill. After the purchase, the information in the system changes. Now he has a set of beginner skills. He understands the first two skills, Dragon Eyes and Might of the Dragon. But he doesn't understand the third skill, Devour, because that skill will help him digest something, and Jack doesn't want to invest his points in something he's not sure about. Therefore, he chooses Dragon Eyes and Might of the Dragon. The second skill is risky to use, because it uses Ra, and Jack doesn't have Ra. For now, he activates Dragon Eyes, so that he can see what's special about it. Initially, Zack doesn't feel anything special, nor does he notice any new difference in his senses. Neither in his surroundings, but when he opens the window to see the statue in the garden. Then the skill increases its magnification, which allows him to see distant things up close. He also gets detailed information about the object. Information about the statue's construction comes to his mind. Using this power has a very bad effect on his nerves, and he feels completely exhausted. Fortunately, his healing factor starts working, and it fixes his exhaustion. It's about a queen. That Jack hadn't even thought of activating healing, it activated on its own. While looking at the system screen, he sees that all his class skills have been converted into passive abilities, and leveled up as well. Healing factor can now repair his body without activation. This is a better version of his previous skill, even though the healing seems very OP. But it cannot be used continuously, otherwise he wouldn't have died in his previous life. The healing factor has become a passive skill. And to test it, Jack takes a blade and makes a slight cut on his hand. Seconds later, the healing factor automatically starts working and completely heals the cut. It usually takes 5 years to graduate from the academy, leaving no trace. But Zack is confident that he will complete this work in 2 years. Drecker Academy is the best knight academy. Any enthusiastic knight is ready to sell anything to get admitted into it. This academy is in the center of Troy City, which fills with new life with every new semester. When Jag is walking among the other students, then he sees that the higher-ranked students are no less than knights. If these people are compared to the students from the cradle, they seem to be only children of great families. Check! That his whole family is scattered. There are 3 great branch families that support the Dricker family, who are called great families. The first, a ton of strength to be a part of. The second is, Gymnodinium isn't even willing to consider it. The scene now shifts to the high-class dorm, Platinum Mansion. This high-class dorm has a training hall, a large library, and all kinds of premium facilities available here. The best pure-blood awakeners get an additional privilege. The floor with the floor master's title is known as the Platinum Floor. A maid welcomes our hero, and he is taken to his assigned floor, where the others are waiting. Reaching here, Jack feels tired seeing so many people. Is told that Decker is waiting for him in the other room. Without wasting any time, he goes to meet him. The butler wants to show his master something. He shows him the premium gloves, which he acquired during the awakening. Jack already has new gloves, but now his eye is on a new sword. He chooses his blade, and the butler supports him without question. The second part of Troy is near the hills. Therefore, there is no shortage of good iron and skilled craftsmen here, which increases the power of Alna. Decker wants to find a craftsman for the young master, but Zack will find a blacksmith for himself. The butler has never heard the name Galen Lubert before. He wants to see them personally, and he will contact this man and fix an appointment. Also, he reminds Jack that he should review the documents once before his first class starts tomorrow. Later, Jack is reading notes when he notices an interesting thing. The platinum floor is reserved for him. Now he will be able to test his new draconian skills. A maid tells the young master that Reina has sent him a dinner invitation. Jack is shocked to hear this and decides to visit. He reaches her floor and is a little scared, becomes frightened, because Reina is playing some strange game there. She welcomes him and apologizes for the unique dinner setting. Zack doesn't mind, and he sits in his seat. They both eat dinner first, and then they talk. Observing Reina sitting across the table, Jack understands that she is using the letter Ra in her speech intentionally. And even at this point, when we are having a casual dinner, he thinks that maybe she is trying to become Purple Knight, which could explain it. Why his sword skills have reached their limit. By doing that, she is wasting her potential. After finishing dinner, Jack feels exhausted and surprised, because Reina ate more than him. When both of them are full, then Reina wants to get to the real point of the conversation. She offers Jack the full support of the Toon family, that this is a misunderstanding, and reminds him that we are both pure blood awakeners. Reina that he is wrong. Being pure bloods, they get many privileges. The platinum floor is also one of them, but to grow, they don't get resources. Reina GK offers to take the support of the Tan family. Reina repeats her point, but our hero's mood is feelingless. Reina is shocked by this. She can't understand why he isn't accepting this deal. Jack is the only one benefiting in this. Jack gets up from his seat and intends to go back, says that he has no interest in this deal. To repay the favor of feeding him, he shares a personal piece of advice. Jack adds that Reina uses her sword with power, and maybe it's in her family's blood, that they value power and strength above all else. Jack tells her that Reina's greatest strength is actually her flexible body. He tells her that instead of directly attacking her enemy, she should consider attacking them using her light body, saying that if she does so, she will become even stronger than before. He leaves from there, leaving Reina angry. Reina wants to use her strength, which her family is using. She has done only this until now, but she can't ignore Zack's words. She also feels it, that she took family training to make a name in the family, which is why her sword style is like that. Kak had caught this when Reina was young, and when she was praised as a genius, no one gave her any advice. Her way of thinking changed after meeting Zack, and now she is ready to think about Zack's suggestions. The scene now shifts to Zack. He is thinking how powerful he has become with his new skills. Now even a whole night of training couldn't stop him. He now has endless stamina, which only he possesses in this world. In his previous life, this place was just hell for him. But now, with his new awakened state, it's completely chill. Zack is now enjoying that peace, which cannot be bought with money or power when he is busy with his work. Then the representative of the Jaman family comes to him, Owen, who is the third son of the family, and he is an expert in fraud. He had threatened Jack in a previous life. Interestingly, he had also given Jack a dinner invitation, but Jack refused. In this life, Owen is behaving very friendly. Jack understands which invitation letter is the representative of the Jin's family talking about. Owen. When Owen asks why he didn't reply, Zack answers that he doesn't care about his messages. Zack's insulting reply catches the attention of Owen's friends. Why is this boy behaving so badly in response to a polite invitation? Zack snatches the card from him, but Zack has absolutely no interest in going to the party. He leaves from there, understanding that the representative of the Jin's family is trying to be Owen's yes man. Suddenly he shows courage, and Jack attacks him. Jack blocks the attack. While he attacks his stomach with aura, Darben Roswell shouts his name and says that he is the greatest knight. Maybe he is the biggest idiot. Our little Draker laughs at his short speech and says that this man is not even a knight. He is just a cadet. Jack moves forward quickly and punches this man in the stomach, which can rival Mike Tyson. This knocks him to the ground. Meanwhile, Jack happily challenges the next guy in the Jin's family that he too should come and enjoy competing with him. Owen approaches him. That Jack is very proud of his strength, and he is not impressed by this. The group leaves Jack alone. Jack sees them as nothing more than circus clowns. Let's talk a little about the inside of Drecker Academy. It is divided into two classes. The first, normal class, where they are taught, those who lack talent. That class runs with hard work and discipline. This is the second special class, where some special cadets can choose their subjects in addition to basic subjects. The top people and elites in this academy gather in the special class. That's why Geek also expected that there would be some special people here, but he saw all the same old people that he knew from the cradle. He even jokes about it, that this is not a special class but a cradle class. Gins? And the instructor introduces a special man at the podium. This mysterious man was the commander-in-chief of the Empire 20 years ago, and he's the one who prevented the attack on the Empire with his amazing strategy. Dean Howard Drecker is welcomed. He is the head of this academy, and he is known as a war hero. Howard is considered a beacon of hope and a master of tactical warfare, but the truth is that he is more of a scoundrel than he is famous. He leaked information to the enemy to save his life and got away with it, plain and simple. He was lucky that people didn't find out Jack hates him for it. Because in his past life, he was the one who got him kicked out of the academy. He had nowhere to go, so Jack was wandering in the Troy forest. There, slave traders caught him and sold him to the Southern Cartel. This man's existence is linked to a painful moment in Jack's life, and he will definitely take his revenge on this fat carrot. Dean's speech ends, and the teacher starts the class. The cadets are told to go to the arena for training. Jack is in the arena. Ron is there. That he is having to learn the basics of dragon slang. In his past life, he couldn't pronounce RAR and wasted 2 years, while a normal person takes 3 months. The instructor welcomes the students and announces his name as Rose Knight Andrew Draker. He will teach them the basics of dragon slang. The students are a little nervous because they don't know anything about this guy. Jake remembers something upon hearing the name. Andrew is not a pureblood awakened. Yet he graduated early from the academy and was valedictorian of Valhalla, and he's not even from the Drekar family, but his talent is so amazing that he earned the name of the Drekar family. This is the guy that your girlfriend tells you about, who thinks there's nothing to worry about. The teachers in the special class are all on a different level, but this guy is famous for his bad behavior. Andrew demonstrates to them and to be quiet so he can start the class. He tells the cadets to take out their swords. His eye falls on Jack's special sword, which is much bigger than the other swords. How easy it is for him to wield this sword. Andrew angrily asks him to come to the arena. Thinks this boy is becoming overconfident. He has brought a sword bigger than himself. But this is a typical teacher thing to say. And Zack didn't deliberately pick up this sword. He used the same sword in his previous life. He said stiffly, "I can defeat the instructor with this weapon." Hearing this, Andrew got angry. The scene became so tense that Zack's system activated a mental defense skill to handle the situation. Andrew also got ready and started pulling out his sword so he could show the boy that there is a difference between talking and doing. But that's what Zack wanted. The instructor sets a condition for Zack's victory. He will ignore the boy's arrogant words and allow him to do anything in his class. The instructor also says this, that he will go easy and not even use his special move, but this is totally playing to Jake's advantage. He is so confident in his ability that he knows Andrew's weakness. But because his brother is watching him, he doesn't want to risk taking unnecessary attention, so his strategy is to cut Andrew's uniform a little bit and then give up. The fight begins when Zack strikes his teacher's neck, but Andrew deflects his strike, showing his Blue Knight skills. The fight is going to be tough, and Zack knows this. He attacks from all sides, but each time his teacher deflects all his attacks with quick reaction time. The other cadets are watching. They are being defeated. That knight is brilliantly holding off Jack's attacks for 30 minutes. He is feeling dull. The interesting thing is that Andrew feels his blade shaking and his body tiring. He can't understand how this boy is still performing so strongly even after being so exhausted. The fight is getting difficult for Andrew now. How capable the pure blood awakened of the Drekar family are, and they cannot be compared to anyone else. Jack is taking advantage of his teacher's low stamina. Speaking of Rai, the Drekar family's aura cult is known for its uniqueness. They train their aura all the time, whether it's training or daily work. It becomes as easy as breathing. Now that Andrew isn't using his Rai, he feels weak. That's what benefits Jack. Andrew deflects Jack's blade one more time, but Jack doesn't give up. His ego demands it. That his opponent be forced to use Ra. Jack changes his strategy. So that Andrew uses his Ra, he jumps from the ground and activates the Swift Step skill, and attacks from Andrew's blind spot with lightning fast speed. Andrew doesn't understand what's happening, and Jack activates Critical Strike. He puts all his power into one attack. Andrew is defeated. Ren remains. How can a cadet use such an advanced skill? When he turns towards Zack, He dodges the attack by putting a little aura into his leg. Then, without waiting, he activates Under Sky Slice and blows Zack away. This was such a powerful attack that Zack's suit is damaged, and he gets so injured that his healing factor gets activated. He falls into the ravine. While Andrew, after destroying his sword, starts to leave in anger, Andrew announced that from now on, whether or not to take GK class is his choice. Then he asked if there is anyone else who wants to try this. Because everyone is so scared after seeing what happened to JK, everyone is so afraid of his anger that no one even raises their voice. That no one dares to compete after this class restarts. But our hero is chilling on the hospital bed, and he is happy with his performance. His original plan, which was to cut Andrew's uniform, went to waste, but he forced Andrew to use Raw. This was a good result because he had hung his teacher in the fight, but Andrew's last attack, which was Sky Slice, is the most basic move of dragon slinging arts. Sky Slice is a basic technique, but when a Blue Knight uses it, it becomes very powerful. He trusts his infinite stamina and healing, but he knows that just these two things are not enough if he wants to live freely. Then he will have to become even stronger. He wants such power that no one can stand against it when he is lost in thought. Then a stranger comes to meet him. Ron is because a drunk is the last thing in a hospital ward that he wants to see. He couldn't sense this man's presence. This man says some bad things about the Drecker family patriarch. Zeke tries to ask, who is this man? But this drunkard is busy eating and drinking. This man wants to ask about Jack's regenerative abilities. Because he survived a serious attack, the system activates mental defenses according to the situation. Jack doesn't tell him anything because he knows that no one at the academy knows about his healing skills, even when Jack pretends to. That he knows nothing. This doesn't sit well with the man and he attacks him to get the truth out of him. Jack dodges his palm strike, which is so sharp that it cuts the bed. Whether this man is an assassin, he blinds this madman using a bedsheet. He activates all his skills and gets ready to attack. But this man, who is now blind, easily catches Jack's blade and praises his ability that he learns quickly. Jack runs back in panic and thinks, what does it mean? When this man calls him soldier, Jack thinks that this mysterious man knows something about his past. Despite being a Drakkar, Jack flees to save his life, leaving his sword behind. Actually, this man wants to suggest to Jack that he become a soldier instead of a knight. This man believes that Jack is more suited to be a soldier than a knight. Our hero finally understands his words, and the feeling that comes from that mysterious man, Stan, who this man is. The power gap between the two of them is so big that if that man wanted to, he could easily kill Zack, seems like. This man is probably at the level of a red knight. That man says, looking at Jack's large sword, why he is using a bigger sword than him. He thinks that Jack, who has such insane talent, he is wasting his potential by using such a weapon. Zack confirms that this man is a powerful person, but suddenly Andrew arrives, and he is looking for that mysterious man. Zack is shocked to hear this. When Andrew calls that mysterious man the garden keeper Dector, Zack isn't sure while Dector asks how Andrew found him. Andrew remembers that he had seen Dector in the training room before. He orders Zack that if his injuries have healed, then he should leave from here. Our hero tries to get out of this strange situation, but Dexter stops him. That if he wants to learn something useful, then he can come to the Academy's Western Greenhouse. A silence falls for a second, but then Zack refuses the offer and starts to leave. Dexter gets in, and then Zack's father is remembered, who behaved like that because Zack is no longer a gullible child. He understands quickly that if the gardener can so easily mention Arthur Petria's name, then he must be that person who only ever made Andrew a student in his entire life. Duke Draker, the Gale Knight, this is him, who can use martial force. This crazy man once fought alone against the entire kingdom. Then he suddenly disappeared when everyone was talking about him. Zeke never thought that he would be living such a quiet life in the academy. He thinks that maybe Andrew also came here because of Dector. Whether Dector got the title of Duke because of his power or something else, he had heard a rumor that this madman had become a Black Knight. Just because he liked the color black, Zig knows that the Duke is interested in him in part 2. But he doesn't care. He won't become his disciple to learn petty techniques. Jack is so greedy for power that he wants to learn that man's secret move, Jack's mind. And that for his own interest and greed, he will become its disciple. Professor Phantom, hesitating, begins the class at the Magic Academy. If anyone has any questions, the whole class falls asleep bored, which is demotivating for the professor. But the professor continues to deliver his lecture. Just then, the protagonist raises his hand and asks a question about the mana energy transfer law, which the professor had just explained, making Phantom very happy, and starts behaving differently. because it's the first time that a professor is taking their time to explain everything. After the class ends, the students think why they are being taught magic theory, while all the students keep sleeping in this class. But Jack doesn't think so because he believes he understood everything easily. That Professor Phantom is a capable man. Phantom gets a chance to stop him and explain his feelinglessness, so he offers Jack that he can come and ask questions anytime without any hesitation. If he doesn't understand any concept or he is curious, Phantom explains that he is still a member of Loa Magic University. Therefore, he has access to a lot of information. This surprises Zack, because he didn't think it was connected to Professor Lava's Magic University, the nation that is considered the birthplace of magic. Zack accepts Phantom's offer, because it's to his advantage to keep a capable mage by his side. That those who are good at math majors are usually also great thinkers. That it is better to partner with a regular guy than a stuffy knight. That this will be very useful to Professor Future when Zack leaves the academy. Then he sees Dector. Zeke understands that Dector started losing patience in just 1 week. Dector asks if her class is over. And before Zeke can say anything, he interrupts and starts asking why he didn't go to the greenhouse. Dexter hoped that Jack would get the hint when he said that he would teach him something useful, but Jack repeats himself and tells him that he has no interest. Dexter gets angry and starts behaving like a child. Jack explains that he knows that Dector is no ordinary man, but Jack is still busy with his training. Therefore, it will be difficult for Jack to find time for Dector. Dector pretends that he understands Jack's point, but then in an instant he comes up behind Jack. Zack doesn't even get a chance to react and is easily knocked unconscious by Gale Knight. After a while, Zack regains consciousness, and he still can't believe that he was knocked out so easily. He thinks Zack sees that Dexter must have gotten tired of waiting for a whole week. He is in the western greenhouse. Dexter asks Zack, what does Kaya Tumuthge mean? This is a straightforward kidnapping, but it's a careless video, but Dexter comes in front of him, which trapped Jack. Ran is left behind. Jack tries to escape one more time, but fails miserably. Because Dexter had caught him, GK says that he is not a little kid, therefore he teases Dexter, asking why he is so interested in Jack. Dexter reminds him about his insane healing power. Laugh smiles, and finally understands what the reason is. He challenges Dexter that if he can get the answer out of him, then get it out, then Dexter suddenly disappears. Jack about what he is doing, and suddenly a sword comes from behind him and almost hits him, but he catches it. Think about what Dexter wants to do. Jack takes a fighting stance, and Dexter asks him what all this means. Just then, this mysterious man appears and reminds Jack that Jack was challenging him before, but it's getting boring. Therefore, he says, let's make a bet. Dexter issues a challenge that if he can cut even a piece of his clothes, he will obey him, but he says it with a scary expression. That if Zack loses the challenge, then Zack will have to show every skill he has been hiding. After 3 hours of continuous fighting, Dexter thinks, what is this boy made of? He found that Jake not only has insane stamina and endurance, but he also has never-ending healing power, which makes him unstoppable. Croger gets back up again, and without wasting even a second, he activates his healing skills and infinite stamina, which gives him the strength to fight all day. But he believes that even such skills cannot help him achieve victory in this fight. That's when Jack remembers his Might of the Dragon skill, which seemed a bit too dangerous to him, so he never used this skill. Jack thinks that using such a skill against a Black Knight would be okay. Immediately his aura changes, and he gets ready to attack again. Dexter gets excited looking at his cold eyes, because he feels that a fight should be fought this way. Our hero starts to emit a purple aura, and activates his swift steps and moves forward, so that he can attack. Dexter understands by looking at his old attacks that Jack is faster than before, but he reminds Jack that he is nothing compared to some of his past opponents. But he sees a fire in the protagonist's eyes, which is nothing short of madness. Dexter is impressed to see this, and decides to use a little more Ra. But suddenly our boy activates the Mark of the Dragon. Seeing this, Dexter is shocked. Dexter breaks his sword and pushes him back, but he is confused and thinks, now what happened is that he hides himself by using the dust around him. He thinks that did Zack use some technique that his eyes couldn't see. He thinks that Zack won't be able to find him in so much smoke, but Zack finds him by using Dragon Ice, and he tries to attack from behind. He finally manages to land an attack, but the Black Knight instantly disappears, which shocks Zack that this is the Duke's secret technique, which helps him move quickly, causing a cloud of dust to fly up. He finally understands why Dexter is called Gale Knight, but just when he is lost in thought, that's when the man comes up behind him and calls it a draw, and brutally defeats Prodiger, ending the fight. the system shows. Fatty is out of his limits because he has used his skills too much. Therefore, he unwillingly starts to feel faint. Zack's eyes begin to close. He tries to get up, but he can't do anything. After a few hours, when he regains consciousness, so he is in his room. Our hero, that maybe the Duke brought him here. He regrets his defeat, but he knows that he cannot win against Gale Knight with his weak body. Even after using his full strength, he lost. Zeke remembers that he used the same type of attack, which made Dector think he didn't know any other skills. Then when he got a chance, he used Might of the Dragon and Dragon Eyes to attack. But even that wasn't enough. Kaku knows that the skill Dector used at the end was his secret move, which Jake regrets. That he only fainted due to the overuse of draconian skills, but he is happy that he was able to see that man's secret move. The speed Dector showed with his strong body is the move, which helped Andrew achieve such a high rank despite Andrew's very low stamina. Jake even though he didn't get the chance to learn this skill, he is still somewhat happy. Cockething. That Might of the Dragon, which can even force a Black Knight to hesitate. It will easily defeat any minor enemy. Jack receives a message from the system. After checking, he realizes that his Swift Steps has leveled up, her soul has developed, and her system functions are also available, which she can now unlock by using karma points. She is surprised, and she looks that she has the options to unlock a mini-map, inventory, and quest book that he can unlock with karma points. Zack thinks seeing so many things. What he should take, he buys the inventory first. The system explains it to him that he can store items and can take them out whenever he wants. The protagonist selects to store the sword. The sword is in his hand, and then it suddenly disappears and appears in the inventory window. Zack now understands the system's instructions and decides to take his sword out, and then his sword appears in his hand. He remembers that in his past life he was so worried about storing an artifact. He realizes that he can easily increase the storage level by using karma points, so that he can store even more things, and this simple storage function is a low-rank administrator skill. The protagonist is surprised and thinks he understood what skills he would be able to acquire when he goes from a low rank to a high-rank administrator function. That is, K points are very limited. Therefore, using them without thinking would be foolish. He decides to make some changes to his plans. But while he is thinking, just then Decker arrives there and asks for permission to come inside. Cock is a little surprised, but he allows him to come inside. Butler tells him that he has a message for Meek, that if he reveals that the message is from the gardener Decker. Then Jack understands. Our hero smiles, and he understands that his hard work was not in vain. Dexter wrote in the invitation that he can come to challenge whenever he is ready. Jack remembered that Dexter had said before knocking him unconscious that this match is a draw. Zack gets excited about this because he still has another chance to win against Dexter. Butler shares another thing, that he has found the blacksmith, whom Zack had asked to find. Zack asks about the appointment, but Butler also says it's awkward. Everything didn't go according to plan because the blacksmith refused to give an appointment, leaving Zack shocked when he finds out that the blacksmith has stopped forging weapons. The next day, Zack arrives at that blacksmith shop, which he had visited in his past life. He smiles slightly seeing the shop's name and goes inside. Whether anyone is inside, the protagonist remembers his past life, that he used a sword called Radiance of Grey, which was a real masterpiece forged by Galleon. Galleon gave it as payment because Zack had saved his life. Zack believes that Galleon should get the grand title of Blacksmith of the Soul because rumors are that he can tell by reading the souls of his clients before forging a weapon. He remembers what kind of sword Zack needed. That in his past life, Galleon had not disappointed him and had made a sword whose ability he needed the most. That sword could use mana instead of Ither. Galleon was once the greatest blacksmith in the entire continent, but Zack gets disappointed seeing him so drunk. Galleon looks at the boy and tells him to go away, saying that this shop is not for children. This man's attitude has always been bad, but in his past life when he met Jack, he wasn't in such bad shape. Without hesitation, Jack throws a bucket of water on the man. He gives a grave smile. If he has finally woken up, Galleon comes to his senses and recognizes Jack Drake. He immediately bends over and starts trembling with despair, and once again apologizes. That being a useless blacksmith, he feels that he cannot create anything good for anyone because he cannot create the thing he needs for himself, so he has stopped taking orders. Jack is a little surprised. Seeing that a future famous blacksmith is going through a difficult time, he remembers that when he first met Galleon, he was a capable blacksmith who never shared much about his life, perhaps because he didn't like talking about his failures, but Zack doesn't have time to wait. Galleon is going crazy because of his tough life. But Zack tells him to come to his senses. The insecure man apologizes for his disarrayed behavior. But Jack doesn't care about these things and demands to see the weapons. Galleon is failing to create weapons properly. When the blacksmith takes him to the back, Prodigar understands that now he himself will have to show this man the right path when they reach the backyard. Galleon apologizes for this mess, but Zeke says that there's no need to take tension because it all looks cool. Galleon thanks him. Zack begins his inspection and starts looking at the servers. Galleon does it by one. Be careful because all the swords are still sharp. Our hero understands this while checking that these are not swords for fillers. Rather, these weapons still maintain the same quality that Galleon had forged when he was the best blacksmith in the entire continent. Using Jack's dragon eyes helps to see everything. He notices something and asks Galleon if there's any issue with his furnace. Galleon gets shocked. That's how Zack knows. But Zack just asks him to answer. He also points this out, that Galleon smelts using a completely different method. Can see that Galleon makes a lighter but stronger material by mixing multiple metals. But Zack easily breaks one of his failed swords, because this sword's durability is terrible. Planes. That in such a case, the real issue is this. That Galleon is shocked that the impurities were not properly removed during forging. Seeing that Zack not only easily understood his forging method, but also pointed out all the problems effortlessly, Galleon gets an idea. He calls Zack. He said that it might sound a little strange, but he wants to make a request. He asks inside the shop. That's what he is doing. The blacksmith shows him a blueprint, and without any hesitation reveals all the secrets. Kick remember that this is the same blueprint, which he had seen in his past life, the blueprint of the magic furnace. In his past life, Galleon didn't want to hide his secrets from the man who saved his life, so he showed Zack the blueprint. This time, he does the same. That everything will be easier with this melting method. Galleon expected Zack to recognize this blueprint, but Zack is thinking, why isn't he working on it when he has the blueprint? Galleon but there's still an important part missing. To get it, he needs 10,000 gold coins, which shocks Cac, because a normal family spends only 10 golds a month. And this is 1,000 times more than that. Our hero finally understands why it took Galleon 10 years to succeed. He acknowledges. Galleon knows how difficult it must have been for Galleon to collect 10,000 gold. It will seem quite strange, but it's because Prodigar is a Drakkar and a pure-blood Avkar. He-ho. That Jack will help him, in exchange for which Galey is ready to make all the orders free for his entire life. Jack thinks for a while, and Jack begins to consider Galleon's request almost impossible, because he is not the guardian knight of his family. Therefore, there is no way for him to accumulate such a large sum. Even if he is a pure blood, he will need the gray, which is the Sword of Radiance. He will need it, but then a solution comes to GK's mind, and he understands that this problem is related to mana energy loss. Suddenly, a brilliant idea comes to his mind, and he accepts the request. Zack takes the blueprint. But Galleon still can't believe that Zack will help him. Then our hero assures him that he knows a wizard who can help. He says to Galleon that if something works out, he will tell Galleon before leaving, asking Jack to stop drinking. But Galleon falls to his knees and grabs Jack's feet. He starts crying, promises that if this work is done, he will serve Prodigar for his entire life. Galleon constantly expresses his gratitude. While Jake tries to leave the workshop, Jake remembers something in the professorial research building of Raker Academy. That Professor Phantom's major was related to this topic, so he tries to remember his research lab. While he is looking for the lab, he sees something strange happening in an alley. A child is being badly beaten by some bullies. The child keeps apologizing with tearful eyes. Prodigar suddenly remembers his past life, and he tries to control his anger by clenching his teeth. Just then, he goes out into the street and sees that Leon and his friends are beating a poor child. Leon calls that child complete trash and starts hitting him even more. He vents the anger he has at Jack on the child and starts hitting him. Leon doesn't believe he lost to Jack, and he feels it. That Jack was just lucky, that's why he won. Leon presses the child's head into the ground with his hand. As soon as Jake arrives, Leon's face changes. Prodigar smirks stiffly, but soon becomes serious and orders those bullies with his terrifyingly angry eyes that if they value their lives, then kneel down. Jake says, taunting Leon Jack stiff, that Jake didn't really awaken pure blood. Prodigar silences him and says threatening that he will have to bow down or he will be killed. His words stun Leon, and he sweats with fear. Leon in anger clenches his teeth and calls Jake a drain worm and tells his cronies to attack him. He easily dodges his punch without any fear. He defeats the first man, and then he defeats the second one too. Leon's Jake. He becomes stunned. That's the same Zack, who looked completely different a few months ago. Leon, scared, draws his sword and tells Zack to stay away. Otherwise, he will hurt him. Kak reminds him what it means to draw a sword in the training area, panics in fear, and falls silent without saying anything. Whoever draws their sword first in the GK duel, whatever happens in the fight is their responsibility. Now, not until someone dies. The fight will not end, making Jack Liam his witness, and gets ready to start the fight, but Leon apologizes and cries, saying to Jack to leave him this time. Protege remembers his past life and calls Leon a scoundrel. In a moment, he cuts off Leon's ear. Says, if he puts this ear back on, Zack will cut off his head next time. Leon starts screaming in pain. The child asks Zack, what did he help him? Zack says that he was not helping anyone, just helping himself. Kay thinks as he leaves that perhaps Galleon has changed something in him. He looks for Professor Phantom, asked whether it is possible to make it. Phantom answers direct, says that it is possible, says he is leaving this task to him. But Phantom stops that he wants to clear up a few things. Professor Phantom, it is not difficult to build this, but the real problem is in its core, which is necessary for power output. This is the heart of the core machine. But there are some shortcomings in this circuit. This core may look small, but a lot of energy is needed, and the output must be controlled in a timely manner. Kaka understands everything. If there is a solution to this, the professor explains that they have two choices. They can make some changes in the design of the core, but this work is so difficult that it could take a full 10 years or maybe 15 years. This is from Jack. Ran is having, but the professor repeats that it is very time-consuming. The professor continues that the second method could save them from redesigning the core. He believes they just need to use a different material. That this method will save a lot of time, but it will require a high-compression mana stone. Jack gets up as soon as he hears this. And remember, that high-compression mana stone is something that even today's technology cannot create. Phantom agrees with his statement and reminds him that it's not something that can be easily found in dust and dirt. For this design, the high-compression mana stone will cost them 10,000 gold coins. Kak initially gives up, but then he thinks, what will happen if someone finds out he can't use Rai? 15 years is a very long time. But he can't collect 1,000 gold coins either. He doesn't want to run away after losing because everyone thinks he's a Rai user, which is not true. The truth is this, that the reaction the statue showed during the blessing was only because of his ether and healing abilities. He still can't use aura, and ether is a power that ordinary people can't control. He only has the spirit of the soul skill, which allows him to only make the sword strong and use it. To use ether, he needs Gre the Sword of Radiance. Zack still keeps thinking about the mana stone and tries to find another solution. Phantom is here. Rang gets defeated and believes that whoever created this blueprint is very capable. He considers this design very efficient, listens attentively to the professor's words, and suddenly he gets an idea. And says to the professor that he should handle the design work until he returns. Professor Ron becomes silent and asks what Jack wants, that he recreate the design and waste 15 years of his life. Zeke explains that he is about to bring something, and says with certainty that he knows how to obtain the high-compression mana stone. Zeke explains that the Liberation War started in the Golden Age, in which humans were freed from the rule of dragons. This war ended when an evil dragon named Boot was killed by Andraker. After this, humanity had a century of peace. Sometime later, relics of heroes were found in Dragon Slayer. These relics were so advanced that people of this era could not duplicate them. One of these was the high-compression monotone, which could give mana to an entire village for the whole year. Kak goes to the central library of the Draker Academy. Although no one uses it, it is still made, because people believe that it was made by the hero Terran Draker himself. Some years later, when books were moved from one place to another, people found relics of the Golden Age. Magic towers and the Archmage of Nirvana were not left behind. Many relics of the Golden Age were found and rumors about them spread throughout the continent. Zack remembers that it happened in his previous life. He goes to the library and that perhaps no one knows that the relics are hidden here yet. He uses his dragon eyes and wanders around the entire library. Finally, he notices a strange top, taps it, so that he can know if there is something behind it or not. He enables the soul of the spirit, and that his master taught him that fine cuts can be made in anything using ether. But it also has many disadvantages. It takes a lot of power to use ether. He gets tired. But without wasting time, he goes behind the tile. Going inside a cave, he lights a fire and remembers that his past life's news didn't mention this place. Just then he hears something and thinks that maybe someone has already discovered this place. Skeletons are standing there holding shovels and pickaxes. He confirms it using Dragon Eye, that these were not made by Laiki. He enables critical strike and destroys them. He receives 2 karma points. He smiles faintly, thinks that he had forgotten about karma points because he was focused on achieving Artifit, who makes an evil face, and thinks that this is a good opportunity to earn karma points. He moves forward and defeats 20 more skeletons. The system shows him all the options. What all can he buy? Now Jack has as many karma points. Only a mini map can be bought with them. Therefore, Jack buys it. The system shows his exact location, and it looks like a magic map. Something like that appears, which catches his attention. And he thinks, what is this? The map becomes 3D. It is an ore. It becomes round. The system tells him that a room is in a different color, which is the storage room, if he says. Then the system will show him the way. It becomes clear, because he remembers that it took the search party several days to find this storage room, but he found it without any effort. The system is showing him the best route, which is the wilderness remains. Because with this skill, he will easily reach the storage room, and finally he reaches his destination. But he finds a big door in front of him. What will he do now? Because the door won't open with just a show of trying, he still tries. But a strange magic pushes his hand back. He feels that. That's the reason that the Archmage of Nirvana and the Magic Tower were summoned. He looks at his burning glove, thinks that he could have lost a hand there. He is afraid that he won't be able to open the door, so he asks the system. The system responds and connects to the security device. At his request, the system tries to open the door, but so activates the manual device. The wilderness happens, and whether the system really answered. The system says yes, due to which Jig gets shocked. Jig decides that he will use it and asks. Since the system says nothing about why it was regressed, he asks the administrator system questions. Again, the system says nothing, so he asks more questions. He asks who created this system. Again, there is no answer, which makes him frustrated, and he folds his hands. He says, the system opened the door. The system confirms his request, and opens the door to the Dragon Slayer storage room. Ranhap, when he sees the chests inside. As in his past life, all the chests are filled with expensive relics and treasure. It is impossible to obtain these and run. He checks all the chests, and finally finds compression mono stones. He gets 4 of them. He uses a karma point to increase his inventory, and keeps 1 stone. He doesn't have that much storage. Therefore, Jag thinks that he will come back later and take the rest of the mana stones. He thinks that this is enough, but when he is about to leave, then he gets a strange feeling. Magic circles appear around him, and they teleport him to another place. This makes Jug's whole body tremble. When he opens his eyes, then he realizes that his location has changed. He quickly asks the system, that's where he is. The system responds that he is in the house of the Dragon Slayer. In his past life, he had never heard of a room filled with coffins. Opening the mini-map, he saw that he wasn't far from the previous room. But there is no way to get here, which is connected to the Dragon Slayer's house, so it's possible that this is a hidden path, which has never been discovered. Jock decided to take advantage of this strange situation and ran to a coffin. He opened the concrete lid and saw a medieval armor inside. The system indicated that this is the Dragon Slayer's equipment. Jacques picked up the armor and saw rub marks on it. Upon closer inspection, he realized that this armor is different from the armors of the Golden Age. Behind it, he found a round hole, which led him to believe that this hole would be connected to the mana stone he had just acquired. Jacques took a high compression mana stone from his storage and inserted it into the armor. The system indicated that the mana battery installation was successful. The entire armor lit up and activated. Jacques smiled hopefully, but the next moment the armor cracked strangely and smoke filled the room. According to the system, the equipment failed due to an overload and activation stopped. The system also warned him about the next explosion, but this warning came a little late. The system apologized for the delay, but thankfully, that more damage didn't occur. At least Jacques confirmed that highly compressed mana stones are the energy source of these ancient armors. He needs it. The queen is what this armor can do. That requires such a large energy source. Zach made a note in his mind that he would ask Professor Phantom about this soon. For now, Zach decided he would look around the strange room for something useful. Besides the room filled with coffins, the other rooms were empty. Finally, he reached the last room, which was similar to the rooms he had searched before, a large and empty hall. But then he saw a glass cube in the middle of the room. A system prompt appeared before him, reading which he was shocked. He was sweating and thinking about how crazy Terran Draker was. In the final room, this cube is the founder's legacy, which the cursed dragon Bahamuni left as a gift. This explains that strange feeling, which Zach felt in the storage room, but compared to the previous dark presence, Boots' heart now feels something different. As soon as the system indicated that Boot's heart was reacting to his body, Zack was surrounded by a dark presence. He heard a voice in his mind, filled with anger, saying that he would destroy everything. The voice was saying that he should kill everyone. His indomitable mental defense activated, and he briefly snapped out of the shock. Then he had a sharp pain in his head, and one of his eyes turned black. He felt that this presence was still in his body. The system gave him an urgent quest, the Terran Draker test, in which he has to. The dark presence re-emerged, and when his mental defenses tried to clear its effect, his class skills failed to activate for the first time. After that, the voices in his head became even louder, both eyes turned black, and the voice demanded that he accept it, saying that if he accepted it, he would be free. With sheer willpower, Zack brought himself under control and slammed his head hard against the glass cube. The pain cleared his mind, and he smiled as ketchup started falling on his face. Zack wouldn't become that crazy murderer. This stupid voice promised to free him, but Zack believes that freedom is not given but earned. The glass cube shattered into thousands of pieces as Zack took the evil dragon's curse, and along with it, the urgent quest was also completed. Fatigue quickly clouded his mind, and the situation would have been even worse if he hadn't had willpower. His body felt the damage and triggered his healing factor and infinite stamina to recover. Along with the curse, the evil dragon Bamusha, he saw the heart come to his chest and shine with a bright light. A power filled his flesh and bones, causing Zack great fear. As far as he could tell, a pure and dense mana source, the likes of which he had never encountered before, was flowing through every cell of his body. This is bad for a knight, but absolutely dangerous for Jack, because he doesn't have a single circle which can properly absorb such intense mana power, and because he can't absorb it, the mana is overflowing and destroying his entire body, and only Jack can understand this pain. That he has to do something, anything, or this process could be his end. Skillful sleight of hand. With D, he summoned Purple Ether. Using the Spirit of the Soul, he created a mini black hole to seal this overflowing mana. Zack has very few skills. He thought using Ether was his last hope. Grinding his teeth, Zack focused all his concentration on keeping the Ether hole seal running. Finally, a huge explosion occurred, engulfing Zack. The entire room filled with thunderous smoke. The explosion created a large crater. Thankfully, he is still in one piece. Every part of his body was screaming in pain. When the pain subsided, he sighed in relief. It was difficult, but he finally survived. His uniform is torn, and the path of Bahamut has been formed on his chest. The heart that was inside the shattered glass cube has disappeared. Bahamut's mana is absolutely no joke. His survival is nothing short of a miracle. And this time he survived by luck. In the pieces of the broken glass cube, he saw a reflection of the mark on his chest. It seems that Bahamut's rampage mana has given some surprising results. That's when the system notified him about the successful absorption of the cursed evil dragon's heart. The absorbed mana has changed his body a lot. His constitution has been upgraded from ordinary to divine. Detecting power that couldn't be controlled yet, the system compressed and sealed 90.5% of the force, and also granted permission to open the Ancestral Legacy Inheritance SIC and Library. The Beginner Quest book has been unlocked, and also the tutorial for the low-level administrator. Jake scratched his head, somehow a tutorial. He couldn't understand what all this was. Remaining confused, he removed all the windows except one, it seems. That the first Dragon Slayer run was very merciful before dying. A prompt appeared in front of him asking if he wanted to open Terran Draker's second dying gift. Just when he thought he couldn't be more surprised, Jake finally set his sights on Rand's second gift. In that ancient room, Jake almost died and then returned to his Platinum Mansion. He hid the looted treasures in a safe place while his eyes were fixed on the system prompt. His title had changed to He Who Has Received the Inheritance of the Ancient Dragon. Out of the new rewards from the Inheritance Control Authority and the Divine Body Constitution, he was most curious about the draconian skill called Incantation. This locked skill would imbue his words with power. He had gained a lot, but was still too weak to use some of the rewards. Gives control over draconian children and dragons. Dragons that come under his control can be summoned, and those dragons will follow his orders without question. The Divine Body gives him the capability to perform at the highest level. His combat learning speed and the rate of ether transfer in his body have increased. The description isn't helping him understand the whole picture, so perhaps he'll only find out by practicing. Besides Answer's other dying gift, there's another window for Terran. While she has gained access to Terran Draker's secure library, an information update is still needed. The system, being helpful as always, offered to mark the location on the mini-map where she could get the update. Zack isn't happy with the extra work, but he has no other option. He was surprised when he recognized the location marked on the mini-map. The design made it look like Valhalla. Valhalla is the most prestigious knight training institution. No one except the administrators can even see that area, let alone go inside. Even for Kak, it would be difficult to enter such a place in this condition. He wasn't even planning to join an institution in this life, but if he could find something there related to Terran's dying gift, then perhaps Jack will have to change his plans. It seems that fate is forcing him to remain a part of this family. The next thing he focused on was the beginner quest book, a tutorial for low-level administrators. The tutorial would start soon, and completing it would give him a quest, which would make Jack even more powerful. Along with the quest, there would be rewards. Jack compared this quest system to the Adventure Guild's missions or mercenary assignments. Curious, he asked the system what the tutorial included. Before he had a chance to answer, the quest suddenly triggered. His surroundings began to change. His eyes couldn't believe this change. Seconds later, he was in a different dimension. Grid lines appeared under his feet, and endless darkness surrounded him. Jack is still in shock. He looked around to understand where he was. If so, that she has been teleported again. Being transported twice in one day against your will is crazy. But this time it feels a little different. Instead of rooms this time, it feels like that the whole area has shifted. It was as if he had gone into a completely different dimension without any warning. He felt a dangerous presence attacking from behind. Turning around, he saw orcs coming towards him with their spiked clubs. Then the system explained that for the tutorial quest, he would have to defeat the monsters within 60 minutes and use 2 or more different skills in it. On completion, he would get rewards of points and system store unlock. When he was thinking his battle senses worked and a sword appeared in his hand. See that this tutorial is creating such situations for him, where he can take advantage of the system. It would have been good if he had got this feature earlier. When 3 orcs attacked him from 3 different angles, he disappeared in a moment. The attacks shook the entire tutorial area. Without wasting time, he activated swift steps and continuous slash to escape an attack. Such monsters are no longer a challenge for him. He can cut their bodies very easily without much effort. He noticed that the claymore he was using felt as light as a feather. This boost in its strength is probably an effect of the divine body constitution. He thought that with a strong but physical body, he could now easily defeat a purple knight. After killing the tutorial orc in one shot, he returned to the same place as before. The second dimension disappeared, and he began to wonder if it was just an illusion, although it felt completely real. In addition to completing the tutorial, he also received a critical bonus and a time bonus. In the quest reward, he earned 400 points and access to the shop category. He was very happy when he found out that he could now buy items through the system. Zack quickly opened the shop tab and saw that there were amazing items available for sale. These included Giant's Flesh, Breath of a Flame Giant, and much more. Every listed item is a rare relic, which is worth cores in the market. Perhaps he could earn a lot of money by using this shop to resell items. Besides buying, he could also sell the items in his inventory. Her training shorts are not available for sale, but Alvin Dagger's price is 4 points. Imps! It seems that the shop only accepts ancient relics. His Alvin Dagger can easily be sold at auction for 100 gold pieces, but the system only values it at 4 points. He decided that he wouldn't sell anything until absolutely necessary. With that, he came out of his personal training room and thought of ending the day. He was very tired in the first 24 hours. That's why it seems that he will be able to sleep well tonight. The very next day, Zack went to the research center of the Drecker Academy to meet Professor Phantom. The magic professor couldn't believe that this boy had found the high compression mana stone in just one day. When Zack was asked how he obtained this stone, Zack refused to explain because it would be too complicated. Zack hadn't even finished his cup of tea, and Professor Phantom had already finished tweaking the power source. This magic era is the best in its work. Even if the professor tried to hide it, Zack realized that the professor suspected him. Every time a high compression mana stone is found on the continent, it is registered in the ancient texts. This is for keeping track and managing who acquired this stone and where it came from, but the mana stones that Zack has are unregistered. No matter how hard you try, they won't be found in the Central Continent Registration Encyclopedia. Professor Phantom's suspicion was not without reason. He has a lot of experience. G thought that such a talented person should not live in a place where his art is not recognized. Finally, the professor tried to activate the design, and we returned to Peeper's Breath. After completing the design, he handed it over to Redison Lubert. Zack and Professor Phantom watched the master blacksmith at work. His workshop was shining with many strange magic circles. There was joy on Galleon's face. Now he could finally create weapons according to his dreams. Zack and Phantom were watching history being made. After the successful trial, Professor Phantom said goodbye to them to attend a lecture. Galleon was grateful for GK's help. He had never thought he would see a complete magic furnace in his life. But dealing with this young boy was the best decision of his life because Zack kept his part of the promise. Now it was Galleon's turn. The blacksmith was eager to repay this favor. Zack took out a material from his bag and gave it to Galleon. At a glance, the blacksmith knew what he had in his hand. From Zack's bag, he took out a material and gave it to Galleon. At a glance, the blacksmith knew what he had in his hand. Inside this beautiful case was a Dragoness Fang. Terrans will inherit its Fang, crazy blacksmithing. Seeing a Dragoness Fang in such good condition was tempting. Terran Drakar's second dying gift was truly the perfect reward. From the heart to the fans, that ancestor had a great passion for collecting priceless things. Suddenly, Galleon began to tremble, tears flowed from his eyes, and snot ran from his nose, which confused Zack. Zack turned the dream of the magic furnace into reality. And now it's giving a craftsman like me the chance to make a weapon from the Dragoness Fang. Galleon promised that he would make a weapon better than he expected. The blacksmith of the soul swore on his name that he would create a blade for Zack that would be worth his life. Zack remembered these words. It was the same promise he made in his past life. Even in Zack's second life, Galleon is the same loyal idiot. This made Zack feel a little emotional inside. After taking a breath, Zack handed Ting over to an expert. Kak has an idea. What kind of blade Galleon will forge for him? In the hands of the continent's best blacksmith, he will definitely create something that doesn't look like it's from this world. After the forge trip, Zack went straight to his room in the Platinum Mansion. He had suffered a lot to get the weapon, and now he could finally relax. It had been a week since he had dueled with the Duke, and the Duke had sent another message saying that he should come back for round 2. While he was thinking that this crazy gardener must be up to something, he felt a familiar presence. Someone had entered his room. Turning around, he saw Gale Knight standing there, and he looked angry that Zack hadn't accepted his invitation. The crazy knight looked at him angrily and demanded an explanation, while killing intent emanated from him. It seemed like he wanted to kill Zack right now. Zack decided to play with the old knight's emotions and said that he had no intention of challenging him again. Duke Draker covered the distance between them in a single moment and demanded to hear the truth. Jack tried to free himself from Duke's grip, but before he could do anything, the madman threw him out of the open window. Jack was shocked and felt his body falling prey to gravity. His room was on the upper floors of the mansion. Therefore, falling from such a height was dangerous. He could even die at this height. Before his passive heal could work, in a panic, he tried to grab the edge of the balcony, but before he could reach the ledge, Duke's hand pressed on his throat with excessive force. The old knight couldn't believe that the child didn't know what the letter meant. Jack had deliberately avoided it, first in the treatment room and still seems to be doing so now, that he is trying to provoke Duke. When his games were over, Duke gave him 5 seconds to tell the truth and shut up. Jack smiled and said that Duke had not yet revealed his true identity and was still calling himself just a gardener. Jack demands to speak the truth. Wes, so this assumes, is used as a simple affirmative response. When he saw the lack of fear in the boy's eyes, the garden keeper Daxter loosened his grip and smiled. Old Knight threw him back into the room, causing damage to the room, but Jack's strong body suffered no serious damage. The garden keeper Daxter admitted that Jack's words had weight. He extended his hand to help the boy up and admitted that he was once Draker's Black Knight. Jack feigned surprise, although he already knew who this man was. He understood this by piecing together the information he had previously been given. He began his acting and apologized wholeheartedly. Suspecting a capable Inquisitor family member and also an Arl Black Knight deserter, the Duke asked if this was Jack's plan. Continuing to pretend he didn't understand Daxter's words, Jack took advantage of this rare chance and asked why Lord Duke called himself a former Black Knight. Without explaining, the old knight only said that he no longer holds that title. It's common knowledge that you can move up in the ranks. But Zack didn't know that one could fall lower in the ranks. The Duke refused to answer his questions and changed the topic. Zack noticed the old knight's trembling hand and stopped asking personal questions because Lord Duke had revealed his true identity. Zack also decided to tell the truth. He knelt down and admitted that he knew the Duke's identity and was deliberately bothering him in order to become his official student. It's about the queen. The old knight smiled, pleased with the boy's bravery. In return, Gale Knight finally accepted him as an official student. Zack was shocked that acquiring a powerful teacher would be so easy. Zack thought he would have to endure a lot of trouble. He decided that he would accept the offer before this crazy man changed his mind. He knelt before Duke Draker and formally declared that he wanted to become the knight's disciple. He swore that he would glorify his master's name, follow his master's orders, and gain wisdom and power. Duke is. It was surprising that the child knew the speech for becoming a student, which most people of the new generation have forgotten. Zack also stated that culture is the most important thing for a knight, but he wanted to ask his new master one more thing. The student liked being called master, but he didn't interrupt the child. Zack asked what it was that compelled the Duke to make him a student, while he was famous for not accepting any students. Only Andrew, the genius of the century, was able to become this boar's student, and that too after begging for years. Although Zack had an idea why, he still wanted to hear it from the Duke's mouth. He thought that the old knight must have seen a potential in him that was even greater than Andrew's. The Duke smiled and asked him to guess. Zack replied that he was accepted because he was the genius of the family. The Duke laughed at his confidently incorrect answer. If he was choosing students solely based on potential, he would have chosen that girl from the Toon family, but he chose Zack purely based on his guts. Talent alone does not get a person to the level of a red or black knight. In reality, talented individuals mostly don't face serious issues, and therefore they fall easily in front of enemies. They lose both their talent and their life. After a lifetime of hard work and fighting enemies, Juk completely agrees with this. Most geniuses who were thought to be able to become Red Knights not only failed to live up to expectations, but most got stuck at the level of Blue Knights. After giving the answer, Duke stood up and stopped the question and answer session. Now he wanted to give his new student his first lesson. Both went to a gym below the Western Greenhouse gymnasiums. Duke ordered him to run on the track, and he couldn't understand what his new master was planning. 3 hours had passed and Duke was just observing him without saying anything. Finally, Duke yelled for him to stop and wanted to ask a question. Juk happily stopped his jog and asked, "What does the master want to know?" Just as he was about to react, Duke's Hulk-like body came behind him. Old Knight's hand reached towards Jake, and the boy instinctively tried to dodge his hand. His battle senses kicked in, and every part of his body forced him to retreat to stay safe. Duke failed to grab his hand and arm, but the slight touch almost damaged his special glove. Old Knight asked his student if he had a problem with him checking his pulse. Jake knew that this madman wasn't just planning to check his pulse. Duke knew there was something wrong with this kid. First, when they fought in the infirmary, then dueled in the greenhouse, and now after running 500 laps on the track, he didn't feel even a single drop of energy in Jake's body. When Duke got close to his wrist, Jake reacted strangely. So the former Black Knight directly asked Jake if he couldn't use the Draconic Aura. This question, which revealed his biggest secret, shook Jake. Duke had done his research. He had seen the bronze statue and knew about the golden light that Jake had triggered, which had never been seen before. Dexter asked, "If I'm wrong, then Jake should let him check his pulse." Jake looked into his master's eyes and saw only a desire to know, despite the serious secret that could spread from the news of not using a Draconic Aura. That Duke's desire to know comes first. Is lucky that Duke is a madman. Zack is still waiting to get his blade grade. So that no doubt arises about his aura, Rick understood that if there had been someone else in place of Dexter, things would have gone wrong. Now he doesn't need to lie. Things are different now from his past life, where he was the first failed awakener of his family. Zack carefully took off his special gloves, which were a symbol of a pure-blood awakener. He showed his manner reflection, which is proof that his purebred nature is real. But he can't use Rye from a stranger, which Jack is hoping for. That telling the truth will hide his other abilities in the king, yet he apologized to the Duke because Jack is afraid that if it is discovered that a Draker can't use Ray, that he will be kicked out of the family because he can cry on his own and can look like a frightened puppy. Give this man an award because she offered to examine his pulse, and the Duke stepped forward and carefully spread his aura into his student's body. Seeing Jack crying and afraid, the Duke thought that a child is just a child. Even though he might not look his age as he thought, not a single drop of Ra was detected in Zack's pure body, even though he had successfully awakened. Duke was shocked. He racked his brain but found no answer. Zack already knew that Duke wouldn't be fully convinced even after the pulse examination because the blessing right results don't lie. Zack knows that Duke will now try to prove this with some kind of logic. The old knight labeled him irregular. Of course, that's his conclusion. People who are unaware of the concept of classes. That's how they think. Still, Zack played along with Duke and asked Duke what irregular means. His master explained that this is what people with special abilities are called. Those who possess different abilities. Like some people can use Ra and Mana together, some have irrational abilities as well, like peeking into the future, which is why irregulars aren't treated very well, and it's better if this secret remains between master and student. As far as Jack's irregular ability is concerned, the Duke thinks so. He has irregular abilities, insane stamina and recovery. No matter how powerful a man is, it takes time to recover from internal injuries. But this concept does not apply to Jack. He recovers from serious damage in almost the same amount of time. Duke thought that so fast a recovery would consume a lot of energy, and that energy is Ra. The old knight concluded that because Jack's Ra is constantly being consumed in exchange for his stamina and regeneration, therefore there is no Ra left in his body. Jack was surprised that this old man had figured out the explanation himself. Continuing his acting, he asked with an innocent face if he would ever be able to use Ra. He was afraid that he would not be able to live up to his master's expectations. Duke scoffed at such sentiment and told him not to worry because his Gale Arts is a special and powerful technique. The Duke, who doesn't use Dira at all, explained that a special art is a special technique, which a knight personally develops after reaching their peak. Usually it's an application or specialization of dragon slaying arts. Therefore, the proper use of Ra is essential in it. But because Gale Arts gives importance to body training, the Duke wanted to give his students a demonstration, so he told Jake to observe carefully. Suddenly, the floor he was standing on cracked from the force of a simple jump. Jake tried his best to track the Duke's insane speed. In just a few seconds, the Gale Knight roamed the entire arena, and his speed was so great that even after images couldn't be seen. Then he landed back in the same place he started. He didn't even break a sweat. When asked if he saw the movements, Jake asked if he could try it himself. The Duke asked Jack if he didn't want to see the child again. The madman laughed and praised Jack's confidence, which reminded him of a black knight, and he allowed the child to try. Jack moved forward and took position. He replayed his master's movements in his mind, just as the master had shown. His first step left a pit on top of the black knight's footprint. After seeing the technique once, he perfectly copied the Duke's movement pattern. Now that he was directly copying his master's movements and trajectory, he began to see things he hadn't seen before. It was clear that these steps were taken as if he were sparring with someone. Some patterns were being used to attack, dodge, close distance, and create distance. Every step had a purpose. Reaching the final position, Jack slowly stopped. The Duke couldn't believe his eyes. He knew the child was gifted. But a week ago, he wasn't this good. What had happened that his potential had increased so much in a week? The difference was like heaven and earth. The Duke had never seen anything like it. He had never seen such perfection, but Jack ruined everything by turning around and showing his arrogance. If Jack could control his arrogance, he could be perfect. The Duke jokingly put him in a headlock and teased him that he had cried and then copied Dexter's skill almost perfectly. Time has passed since the Duke started training him. Today, Jack can be seen in the Academy dining hall. His plate had meat, seafood, bread, and everything else the canteen offered. It had been a month since he became Gale Knight's apprentice, and his appetite was constantly increasing due to the continuous training. Today his lunch was interrupted when instructor Andy asked if he could step out for a chat sometime, because Andy's schedule is busy. Jake told Andy to start whatever he wanted to talk about right here and now. Andrew had a simple question. He wanted to know how Jake convinced Sir Dector. He still hasn't been officially declared the Duke's disciple. At this time, the news that Jake has been accepted is, maybe that bothered him a little. While eating from his plate, Ick replied that he hadn't done anything special and Sir Dector chose him himself. Andrew was angered by this reply. He looked at Ick angrily. He concluded that Jack was only made a disciple. Because he is a pure-blood awake. Our hero didn't like this accusation at all. He finished his food and asked the genius of the century to accept this bitter truth. Jack pointed out that Andrew is a well-frog, who only considers himself powerful and not worthy of everything. The instructor didn't like this at all. His hands trembled with anger. He tried to put Jack in his place by calling him a cadet, but the boy didn't finish his sentence. He asked Andra if he believes, that Sir Dector is that type of person, or who would choose a disciple only for this reason. Jack insisted that he did not become a disciple by using his bloodline as a foundation. It is because of his own abilities. Then he gave the egg some valuable advice. Instead of wasting its time satisfying its ego, perhaps it should work harder so that it too might be chosen, as Andrew was. As angry as Andrew was, he admitted that there was some truth in the cadet's words. Later that day, in the Western Greenhouse Arena, there were 3 people instead of 2. Someone had arrived before Jake and Duke and was running on the track as if his life depended on it. Jake asked his master what was happening. But Gale Knight was also confused. He didn't know what had happened to instructor Andrew, but he was impatiently demanding that if he could stay with Duke and learn, he was even willing to become a servant. Old Knight jokingly said that if he could run 300 laps without stopping, he would keep him with him, and that is the reason that Andrew is in this condition. Duke is surprised at Andrew's new enthusiasm. The field was like this before too. The field knew that this man is not just a self-righteous nerd, it seems so, that the genius in the academy has guts. Today, every student in the academy has been told to make a line on the field. Today is a special. This is Petra's visiting day. Stannis' strong strides echoed outside the campus. A lavish carriage bearing the Drekar family symbol entered the campus. The guards informed everyone of Petra's arrival. The academy's stout Denhoward Drekar ordered his people to get ready so that they could welcome their supreme leader. He stood in front of the gate confirming that the VIP would see him first. When Petra came out of the carriage, Howard welcomed him with respect. The knights also showed respect by kneeling according to their blood rank. Petra arrived exactly at 12 noon and the academy bell rang loudly on this special occasion. Master Drekar walked with unmatched aura and drip. Everyone in his presence was feeling respect for him. He grabbed Howard's shoulder and praised his hard work. This is Giga Chad Arthur Drekar, the third transcendental ones like it. Some students near the gate were stunned when they saw Petra with their own eyes. Arthur Drekar finally stepped into the light, revealing his face to the students of the academy. He addressed the young dragon slayers who were lined up before him, the clan's hope and future. He told the students to train hard and train even harder, because their development would be the family's development. Inspired by his encouraging words and domineering presence, the students took his simple speech to heart and responded with enthusiasm as the sun shone even brighter. Arthur turned and ordered Howard to take him inside. Behind closed doors, Zeke, the leader of all the knights, the guardian named Dragon Slayer, was summoned to meet his father. Arthur laughed at his pomp and circumstance, an old-fashioned way of showing respect. It is rarely seen these days. After taking 2 cups of tea, Arthur asked his son to sit down. He had heard that his son liked tea. Therefore, he has arranged for some rare tea to be prepared, hoping that Jack will like it, although this seems like an odd way for a father to show his love. That Petria is getting news of his performance. That's why he's doing it. There is a saying, perhaps there are some things the Emperor doesn't know, but there's nothing a Drakar doesn't know, and now he's realizing the truth of this saying. Arthur admitted that he had summoned Jack, because I've heard that the Duke made him a disciple. As expected, Petria is not one to beat around the bush. He prefers to get straight to the point. Ignoring the whole thing, Jack said that Duke was doing him a big favor. Arthur didn't know about his son's goal. Following Duke's teachings shows a bright future. Cutting his father off, Jack said that his goal was to become the strongest man on the continent. Such a strange goal filled Arthur's eyes with sharpness. Jack also said that he would become the strongest so that he could live a completely free life. That was his goal, and he would do anything to reach it. He looked at his father's face but couldn't understand what Petria was feeling. Arthur deliberately leaked his aura and bloodlust. If his youngest son wanted to become the strongest, so that means that he intends to surpass even his father. Jack realized he had probably made a mistake. He got carried away by emotions and said such sentimental things that he got goosebumps. It is said that an astral sword's presence was roaming in the room, that it gives the user power over every living being in an area. This is the pinnacle of aura usage, which only full-on Black Knights can achieve. Arthur looked at his youngest son, a hint of happiness showing in his eyes. Jack had decided to stand his ground and stick to his goal. He believed he had a plan to surpass even his powerful father. While he was trying his best to resist the pressure of the astral sword, the patriarch seemed pleased with Jack's firm stance. Arthur reduced the intensity of the astral sword while drinking tea, relieving the pressure on Jack's body. He admitted that what Jack had just said was the most interesting thing he had heard from anyone in a long time. Arthur had actually come here to support the academy and his youngest son, but now that he had seen it, that Jack has grown so much, perhaps that wouldn't be enough. He searched for something in his intricate suit. Jack thought that Black Knights like Dexter were already at the peak of power. a strong man, but his father was on a completely different level. Arthur slid a black card across the table. The card had the Draker symbol on it. This was Arthur's gift to Jack for becoming a disciple of Duke Dexter. Seeing a black card in person made Jack nervous and his words began to falter. Arthur understood from Jack's reaction that Jack knew what the black card meant. Look, this is a credit card, which is given only to a select few people. Jack had never even imagined that he would see a black card personally. Just having it is a big deal. Its credit limit is non-existent. In simple part 3 new words, it's an infinite money glitch. Arthur happily explained that the card would be in both their names so that Jack could use it freely. Jack once thought about whether he should take this card or not, but then he swore that he would only use it when needed. Arthur was pretending to be nice, but the hidden intention behind this valuable gift was clear to Jack. Using a credit card leaves a record, so it was just a way to keep an eye on Jack. But if Arthur chose this method instead of sending the Black Marshal Squad after him, it meant that Patriot didn't consider Jack a threat yet. With that, Arthur affectionately told his son to leave and told him to continue training, work hard, and try to become the strongest on the continent. Jack bowed respectfully one last time, thanked Drecker's master, and left the room without saying anything. His mind was filled with strange thoughts. Over there, Arthur Drecker closed his eyes and began to think about his youngest son's words. Suddenly, Duke arrived and called Arthur an old man. Patria simply asked Duke why he was so angry. Only Duke is the kind of guy who has that much courage, that he can call Arthur by his name instead of his title. Duke said Arthur is suddenly acting like a father to Jake, while he ignored Jake his whole life. Arthur said he had no choice. It's the price of being the head of the Draker household. And anyway, what Duke just said is like questioning Petra's character. Duke sat down on the couch and challenged Arthur if he had the guts. If he has the guts, duck cuff him and arrest him. Arthur smiled and dropped all pretense. Duke is the only one in the entire continent with whom he can talk wholeheartedly without any tension. He can talk to him heart to heart without any tension. Arthur took out another thing from his lavish suit, an expensive bottle of alcohol called Dragon's Breath. Offering the drink to the Duke, his mood improved and he praised Arthur's taste in drinks. Petria talked about the strange rumors circulating in the continent, but the Duke pretended not to know anything, saying that he was just doing his work in the academy, but Arthur knows the most. That Duke's eyes and ears are everywhere. Duke then asked why Arthur was asking such a question, whose answer he already knows. The Emperor has gone mad with the idea of immortality, and is looking for anything across the continent. According to the Duke, anything that allows him to live a long life is impossible. With magic one can look young, but immortality has never happened and never will. Petria also thinks the same, but she is worried that the Emperor is probably looking for a relic related to the Elder Dragon. This possibility changes everything. Arthur, Dra and the Duke were drinking and discussing the small details of immortality and fleeting youth, unaware that Zack was standing in the next room, leaning against the wall with his hand in his pocket, listening to everything. This boy was clearly hearing all their conversations with the help of the raw soul manifestation. Patria guessed that the Emperor was looking for the Elder Dragon's relic. The Duke thought and agreed with this possibility. When asked if the Emperor might have found the relic, Arthur said that it was entirely possible. His personal squad, the Order of Black Knights, had reported that the approximate location of this mysterious relic might be the Northern Continent. The Duke's interest picked upon hearing the name of the Northern Continent, and he took a sip of his drink, listening more attentively. This valuable information hasn't reached the Empire's spies yet, but judging by their capabilities, it seems it's only a matter of time that they will acquire it. The immortal word was reminding the Duke of the past. That crazy Emperor the Bastard started a war in the name of uniting the entire continent as soon as he came to the throne. That bloody war ended only after taking half of the central continent. At that time, the Duke thought that this crazy king would now abandon his dirty and wretched dream, but he was completely wrong. If that bastard actually obtains an artifact that grants immortality, then the continent will be plunged into a war that no one has ever seen. The entire continent will become a sea of fire. Understanding the seriousness of this matter, Arthur Dreckar himself decided to go north. Hearing this, the Duke was shocked. If Arthur leaves the central seat, that bastard Emperor will wreak havoc everywhere without any checks and balances. But that was the very reason Arthur was here today. Besides giving useless speeches to the trainees, he had to tell the Duke about his plans. The Duke had no choice but to agree. He sighed and toasted with his close friend. The old Duke spoke something out of exasperation, but Arthur knew he could trust him to handle the fort. In the next room, Jack was now stressing his body by using this ability. Due to listening for a long time, pain and fatigue caught up with him, and he fell to the ground, his eyes bloodshot. The side effects of using soul manifestation so much couldn't be avoided, even though he had bumbled. Still, he had acquired some interesting and valuable information. Now he was convinced that the statue he had gotten his hands on before when he regressed was the Elder Dragon's artifact. The voice he heard before his last breath and the system messages that appeared after waking up in a younger body were all starting to make sense to Jack, who has now come back in time. He didn't know that he had stolen the same artifact the Mad Emperor was craving. That dictator had sent his direct order unit, the Hunting Hounds, after him to the ends of the earth. At that time, Jack was so consumed by thoughts of revenge that he neither knew nor cared why he was being chased. But now, after listening to his father and master, he had found a solid clue about regression. The administrator system that sent him to the past was the real function of the Elder Dragon artifact. Now the question is, who created such a thing and how powerful are they? And why? Sitting on the floor, Zik took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. After getting a few answers, he now had even bigger questions. In the end, the powerhouses of the Drekar family shared a drink and said goodbye. The Duke assured Arthur that he would get the job done, and Petria also had complete faith in the Duke. After taking 3 steps, Arthur suddenly stopped. Shifting his energy, he looked towards the closed door of the room where Jack was hiding, as if he had X-ray vision. Arthur was looking at the door suspiciously. His son, Jack, was busy solving the mysteries of time travel and immortality. Jack was wondering if he had really stolen the Emperor's artifact, but how did the Duke and his dad know that this artifact could grant immortality? Suddenly, footsteps were heard outside near the entrance. With each step, the danger was increasing. Every part of Jack was telling him to run. Arthur Breaker opened the door with a serious face, but the room was empty. Thank goodness. Jack reacted quickly and escaped before being caught. Arthur immediately relaxed while his son ran out the window. Later that day, this hardworking young lord was doing his training reps in the Western Greenhouse Arena, despite orders that Jack should not be disturbed during training. The old Decker apologized to the young master and explained that Jack's classmate had come to look for him. Confused, Jack wondered who would come so far to meet him when he had no friends in the academy. Curiosity got the better of him, and he told Decker to bring the student in. Jack didn't expect Liam Stone to come through the door and then bow before Jack, who was wondering what this guy wanted. Then Liam sincerely requested that the young lord take him along. Jack thought he should have ignored Liam when he was teaching his old boss a lesson. At that time, Jack had offered Liam to become his subordinate. Liam bowed even lower and said that he would be loyal to Jack for life. Jack asked why he had left his old boss Jackin. Anger appeared on Liam's face and he said, "I was thrown away like a whip." Without the support of a talented Decker, he could not get admission as a trainee in Valhalla. As far as Jack remembered, Liam was the same in his past life. He never understood why Liam was so obsessed with Valhalla, even to the point of begging. Calling him a fool, Jack told him to go to the Toniazaman family. He bid farewell to this muscle head, emphasizing that, "I am not a support family to be associated with, nor can I get Liam admitted to Valhalla." Besides, there was no reason to trust a single word from Liam's mouth. Who knew? He might be a spy sent by Jackin for revenge. Hearing Jack's no, Liam quickly took out a knife from his waist. Lifting the blade, he showed his overpowering aura, but instead of attacking Jack, this madman took his knife towards his left ear. In one swift motion, he cut off his ear, staining the arena with blood. Liam admitted that Jack's doubt about his intentions was justified, but he is ready to do anything to prove himself. If Jack wants him to be quiet, he will cut off his tongue. If Jack wants him to be lame, he will cut off his leg. Throwing his bloodied ear on the ground, Liam Stone looked like a crazy fanatic. This showed his devotion. If Jack takes him under his shadow, Liam will give his life and soul into the young lord's hands. Seeing Liam hurt himself, Jack remembered the last time he saw a cut ear. It was not a good scene. Enduring the pain, Liam once again begged Jack to accept him. Seeing Liam struggling so much, Jack remembered the night in his past life when he begged his master to make him the strongest in the world. At that time, he was a battle-won warrior with nothing but hatred in his eyes. Liam's voice was trembling when he repeatedly asked for a chance to become Jack's subordinate. In response, Jack threw a training sword towards him. The young lord told Liam to pick up the sword and try to withstand a strike. If Liam could block one attack of Jack, Jack promised to take him along. Enduring blood loss and pain, Liam smiled, hope sparking in his eyes. He thanked Jack for this opportunity. Liam was thinking that enduring a strike would be easy because he has a little Decker aura in him. But when he saw Jack's stance and presence, it felt like a monster was staring into his eyes. He thought, can we both be called of the same generation? Jack hadn't even moved yet, and Liam was suffocating from his powerful aura. Liam tried his best to stay calm, but his breathing started to stop and he started seeing blurry. He could barely hold the sword in his hand. When Jack finally moved, his speed was like an explosion. His strong muscles, filled with overpowering strength, contracted. With instincts, Liam raised his blade and tried to fight. The young lord made a straight attack and Liam tried to slash by swinging the sword down. Training sword scraped in this attack, sparks flying. Eventually, the blade slipped from his hand and flew into the air. As he thought, Jack had completely overpowered Liam's stone. His weapon was knocked out of his hand. If this was a real battle, he would have been dead by now. With a little disappointment, Jack asked if this was the limit of Liam's ability. Seeing this fool defeated and sitting on the ground, Jake felt a little pity. Although Liam had fallen from a swing, Jake could see that this guy really had courage. He told Liam to give up Valhalla and his path, but Liam refused to give up. Maybe it was true that Jaken had thrown him away like trash when Jake had defeated that spoiled brat Jaken. Liam was from a distant branch family. If he hadn't been Jaken's subordinate, he wouldn't have been able to enter the cradle. This academy, which had expelled a direct Dreeker descendant like Jake in his past life, wouldn't have blinked an eye for a trainee from a distant family branch. Jake felt the matter was settled and started to leave, but then Liam's big hands grabbed his leg. The queen wondered why this boy was so stubborn. In Jake's past life, Liam was expelled from the academy, but with hard work and experience, he reached the Red Knight level and became known as the mercenary king in the continent. With a tear-filled face, Liam asked for another chance. Seeing Liam's stubbornness, the young lord was now annoyed. Still, he agreed to give Liam one last chance for a test. Jake would take him under his wing, but on one condition. Liam had said that if Jake wanted, he would cut off his tongue and become mute, or he was ready to cut off his leg and become lame. Jake grabbed his shoulder and said to cut off his right arm. Hearing this, Liam's blood ran cold. Jake forced him, asking if his right arm was more valuable than the young lord. Jake knew what he was demanding. He was basically telling Liam to give up on becoming a capable swordsman. He thought that if Liam was in his right mind, he would be afraid. Saying this, Jake turned to training and told Liam to leave. Jake was taking his training stamp when Liam stood there with empty eyes. Jake couldn't understand why he would become so desperate for Valhalla, but Liam wasn't going towards the door. Liam walked towards the sword. What did this mean? Jake was shocked to see this. The stubborn Liam picked up the blade and aimed it at his right arm. In the middle of the swing, Jake pushed his legs to the limit and came between them. Thankfully, he arrived on time, otherwise the future mercenary king would have compromised his promise. The metallic sound of the sword echoed in the training area. Liam, this crazy guy, was really going to do it. He had raised his right hand. Jake looked at D confused, who was still okay. Angered by Liam's madness, Jake grabbed his collar and lifted his big body off the ground. In anger, he asked if this fool had lost his mind. Yes, he had given a strange condition, but it wasn't set in stone. If Jake was ruthless and went back on his word, Liam would have lost everything. But Liam took such a crazy step because if he hadn't, he would probably have lost something even more important than his arm. Jake put him back on his feet and said that if Liam did such a foolish thing again, he would be thrown out no matter how loyal he was. He needed to keep that in mind. Now he will work under the young lord. The pain and despair on Big Liam's face disappeared as soon as he heard Jake's words. Now they had to go to the hospital quickly. What would people think if his subordinate looked like an ugly boy with only one ear? After Liam's ear problem was fixed, he was taken to Jake's personal banquet hall to share a meal. Liam was touching his reattached ear, it was still there. Liam wondered how it got fixed so quickly. He found out that Jake had used one of his healing potions to restore his ear. Liam felt bad that his new lord had to use such a valuable potion on him right at the beginning. Jake said that he was just investing in his new employee, so there's nothing to worry about. Now that things have calmed down, Jake asked Big Liam what he was thinking. He asked who Liam valued more than his right arm, even more than his life. Liam's answer was short and simple, and it made a lot of sense. He was being so stubborn because of his mother. A few days after Jacken left him, he received news that his mother had fainted at home with a strange high fever. They thought the fever would get better quickly, but this was just the beginning. Rose flower-like marks appeared all over his mother's body, and she showed increasingly strange symptoms. Hearing this, Jake was shocked. Liam's mother's condition forced him to take action. The village healers didn't even know the name of this disease, let alone the cure. Liam had only one answer to join Valhalla. The students and their families of this prestigious institution received the best medical treatments on the continent. Zack sighed. Now he understood why Liam was saying so much. He picked up the pen, dipped it in the quill, and after thinking, started writing something on a paper. The symptoms Liam had described rose like red spots all over the body along with high fevers. Zack was very familiar with this illness. In 5 years, this rose disease would spread throughout the entire central continent. It's a highly contagious illness, in which the risk of dying is high. Countless people will lose their lives in this dirty plague, but a radical treatment will be invented and the rose disease will be eradicated. Finishing writing, Zack gave that paper to Liam. It contained the method for making the medicine for his mother's illness. It's not difficult to make, and the ingredients are also easily available. Village healers can also easily make it. Confused, Liam happily took the paper. The healers who dedicate their lives to medicine. They were shocked how a young swordsman came up with this cure in seconds. In the future, the genius alchemist brothers Al and Jeff will invent the treatment for this rampage disease in the central continent. The Greedy Alchemist Association will take advantage of this discovery, profiting from the lives of poor people. When the brothers find out about this dirty practice, they will publicly reveal the production method. Its cure quickly spread throughout the continent, so much so that even a warrior like Zack knew the formula. But he couldn't tell all this to poor Liam, so he simply replied that he knows a very good alchemist. Because Zack knew the treatment method from the person who gave him the formula, he solved Liam's problem in an instant. Now he didn't need to know Valhalla or become a subordinate of the young lord. Hearing this, Liam stood up and vowed to be loyal to Zack for life, no matter how many times Zack had kept Big Liam away from him. Hearing this oath of loyalty from the future merchant king with disbelief, the young lord said that Liam shouldn't fall behind or he would be abandoned again. But before the day ended, there was an interesting discussion in Dean Howard Dricker's office. Cadet Owen Simmons met the stout dean to discuss an important matter. He suggested that the difficulty level of the upcoming semester examinations be increased. The dean was surprised. Owen apologized for sounding arrogant, then replied that this year's first years are quite skilled. The stars have aligned. Most of the candidates from the great families are in this batch, and 2 pureblood awakeners have also arrived, thinks. That if the examination remains as easy as in previous years, it won't be good for the growth of these young talents. Dean Howard thought about the idea for a while and agreed that the Zimen family's child had a point. With a polite bow, Owen left the office. The stout dean looked out the window, lost in beautiful thought. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Owen thinks like his father Zaman. He plans his moves by anticipating future problems. Days passed, and the day of the semester exam arrived. The dungeon exploration began. All the freshmen gathered outside the ruins. This is the semester evaluation that only happens at Draker Academy. Pairs 2 people. One has to get out of the dungeon within the given time. The difficulties of the dungeons vary. Each group gets a random dungeon. Over there, Jack and Liam were ready in one pair, but Big Baby was feeling a bit nervous despite being ready, so his lord reassured him that being nervous is natural, but being too nervous can lead to mistakes. The same applies to being relaxed or arrogant. On such occasions, they need to stay calm and keep their minds alert. Some students were talking to Khan, while others were eagerly waiting for the proctor. Suddenly, a guard shouted the names of Jake Draker and Liam Stone. Without wasting time, they headed towards a nearby ruined door, but a man wearing black gloves stopped them and ordered them to wait. Then, an armed guard who worked beneath the academy pointed to another door on the other side of the room, saying that Jake and Liam were assigned there. When Jake saw the guard, he immediately understood that something was fishy. With a strange expression, the guard quickly told the duo to listen to instructions. Jake sighed and accepted whatever was about to happen, confident that he would handle everything. Jake and Liam walked towards the other door, which seemed to be a trap, although the difficulty of the dungeons varies. This Russ exam, especially under Dungeon Draker's management, shouldn't be too dangerous. Escaping within the time limit is their main goal. Each group is given a timer. It activates itself after entering. Everyone has 96 hours to get out. Time is the main problem here. Score points are awarded by observing basic battle abilities. Bringing the heads of monsters within a fixed time earns extra points. Extra points are good, but the most important part is getting out of the dungeons. If you can't get out within the time limit, you'll automatically fail. After easily passing the first part, Liam and Zeke worked well together, filled their stomachs, and now needed to rest. The young lord himself set up camp and cooked the food, so Liam, who was subordinate here, told his boss to go to sleep first. Zeke reassured his new employee that there was nothing to worry about. With his current body condition, he could go without sleep for 4 days and still be fine. Liam knew it was useless to argue with his lord, so he dragged his large body into the tent and agreed to rest first. After Liam fell asleep, Zeke sat by the fire with his thoughts. It had been 16 hours since they entered the dungeons. He had trained for 3 days before the trial, which meant he had been awake for almost 90 hours. His infinite stamina magically recovered him from physical fatigue, but there's no recovery for mental fatigue. Anything can happen here in the dungeons. Zeke didn't want to risk sleeping. The long night and the silence of the dungeon were playing tricks on his mind. Mental fatigue was taking its toll. Now Zeke wanted to ask Liam to keep watch, but then he made the biggest mistake inside the dungeons. He fell asleep. His dreams took him to the ice sea plains of the northern region, where the Emperor's imposing red flag was a symbol of ruthlessness. Zeke's mind painted a picture of a woman's corpse, blood pooling around her, being absorbed into the snow-covered ground. Suddenly, he opened his eyes, returned to reality, gasping for breath and sweating as if he had seen a ghost. It seems like maybe I even saw it, thank goodness. This nightmare-filled sleep didn't cause him any problems. He had often sat in front of the fire, eating something. Still, he preferred fighting a powerful monster to reliving that death dream. Jack immediately remembered. He was sure the sound of one of his bell traps tripping had woken him. Just as he thought, something was coming from behind the distance. He quickly grabbed a container full of water and extinguished the bonfire to obscure whatever was coming in the dark. Then he shouted to Liam to wake up. Jack planned to check the situation first, while Liam was to follow him, close to the wall from where the sound had come. Jack thought of his plan. Using dragon eyes on the 4th day was risky because this ability uses a lot of energy. So adjusting the eyes to the darkness was better for now. While waiting, a strange smell entered his nose. It smelled like sulfur. His mind immediately went to a creature that emits a sulfurous smell, a monster that hunts in packs. Danger level rank 3, a hellhound, also known as a dog of hell. In the past life, Rhina Frontrunner cleared another segment in this year's semester exam. Zach had never heard of the dungeon room with hellhounds. He waited a few more seconds, but the hellish monster didn't appear. Then he noticed another strange thing. The alpha of the hellhound pack was at most a few hundred kg. But if the sound echoing from these walls was anything to go by, the enemy coming was at least several tons. Maybe it was a mutant. Zach used the sword as a mirror to look from the corner of the wall. Zach held his breath. Using his brain allowed him to see this dangerous monster first. But then it came crashing through the door and the wall with its force, and Zach was blown away by the impact. Zach quickly steadied himself with a perfect landing. Liam ran to his boss. Zach cursed the G-Mins on the outside. He had seen something on the guard's uniform. He now remembered it was connected to the G-Mins. He never thought that the G-Mins would have the courage to play such a dirty trick. This was not just a fight for survival, it was also a fight to uncover the enemy's plans. Suddenly, the head of the hellhound Zach was thinking of fighting was freshly severed. The head of this dangerous beast was brutally cut off. This was all the work of a green-skinned, white-bearded, and stout monster who looked very angry. Whoever planned to kill Zach sent a troll as an assassin directly instead of hellhounds. Seeing a ginger beast, Liam froze in fear, but Zach was angrily trying to understand the whole situation. Trolls are rank 1 monsters, so dangerous that they eat hellhounds and ogres like biscuits with tea. Their blood is used to make healing medicines. And don't even mention their regenerative abilities, they are so strong. Liam tried to compose himself and stepped forward like a truly loyal sword in front of the young lord. Drawing his sword, he decided to become the young master's shield so that Zach could escape from here. Zach smiled secretly and tapped his subordinate to the side. He told Liam not to say such smooth-talking things again. He isn't that kind of lord anyway. Zach, giving some advice to Liam in this dangerous situation, leaving the subordinates to become the monster's food in front of the enemy, told Liam to believe in his own efforts, not the boss, because he is not weak. In this battle, Zach decided to take on a supportive role, letting Liam work at his own will. A smile appeared on Liam's face as if a great burden had been lifted from his shoulders. He fixed his gaze on the troll and thanked the young lord, moving into sync. O attacked from a different angle to confuse the enemy, resulting in the troll standing there like an idiot, ready to be cut like carrots and radishes. Zack was controlling his power so that he could attack equally with Liam. Zack was seeing a lot of potential in this future mercenary king. Zack was impressed that Liam wounded the giant, even though the troll's skin is very tough. And it was even more impressive that Liam was accurately targeting the monster's joints, which meant Liam was studying monsters and their bodies in his free time. For Zack, there could be no more productive subordinate than this, but there was still something in Liam because of which he was going to become meat paste under the troll's spite club. Thankfully, O could turn on his engine. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Liam and blocked the troll's attack. Slightly showing his real capabilities, he broke the troll's weapon into 2 pieces without even looking. This guy holds an S rank. Liam apologized for losing, but Zack praised him for doing so well in his first real life and death battle. While Zack was explaining his mistake to his buddy, the troll was angrily getting ready again. Targeting the monster's joints was a good decision, but ignoring the troll's regenerative ability is inviting death. This is important to remember. Trolls don't understand small cuts if your attack power isn't greater than their regeneration. So your game is over. The monster seems to have raised its arms after the weapon disappeared from his hand. Now he wants to fight with his hands. I saw Liam doing this. I saw Liam doing this. Liam won't be able to handle it, so he picked up the blade and said, "Now it's time to clean up this mess." With a very fast storm-like attack, Zack killed the giant troll. The monster became a bloody, mashed potato-like corpse. Defeating the troll gave him a big reward of 30 karma points. Apart from karma, they will also get good points for this exam. Picking up the loot was Liam's job. Gentle Giant Liam was dismantling the troll. Zack was prompting the system for a new prompt. A sudden quest had arrived: hunt 100 monsters of 10 different species in 72 hours. Kaka's eyes gleamed with greed upon seeing the words, double word. Completing each kill would earn double karma points plus 2 random boxes. With 79 hours remaining until the exam ended, Jake estimated that killing 100 monsters in that time was possible. But hunting 10 different species of monster was a problem, no matter how big the dungeon. The exam dungeon didn't have more than 4 species of monster. But Jake knew that those wretched Jameses had set a trap.